Donald Trump has endorsed Andrew Cuomo for mayor of New York City. Kind of. He said, you must vote for him because we don't want COMMIE Mamdani. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Tomorrow, we got this big election coming up in New York. Will our greatest city succumb to the communists? I'm not so convinced. In fact, I'll say this. I am trading on Cuomo winning, personally. Not something I typically do, but the data internally in New York not only shows in the polling data, it's neck and neck and Cuomo really could win. But according to Kalshi, Cuomo is actually the favorite inside of New York. Outside of New York, Mamdani is the favorite 9-1. So we don't know exactly what's going to happen. I think it's fair to say that Mamdani does win, but it is not a sure thing. Now, Barack Obama is refusing to endorse, which is interesting. So we will talk about that. SNAP benefits will be partially funded. We did not see people storming the gates and stealing, but there have been some videos of people complaining. Ultimately, it wasn't the apocalypse just yet. And then Donald Trump says, okay, we're gonna send it out at half the rate. So, okay, we'll see what happens. We've got fear of war with Trump talking about sending in drones and military against cartels, a potential strike on Venezuela. And this story that is kind of crazy, an explosion at Harvard. We don't know why. It may be nothing. But considering the escalation of political violence, as I said this morning, to a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Now, I'm not saying this is a guarantee that it's political violence, but as long as we don't know what's going on, we'll talk about this the same as we'll talk about any other act in such a way, with the caveat of maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's two ski-masked individuals who set off a bomb for no reason at all. I don't know. We'll talk about that and more. Before we get started, we got a great sponsor for you. It is Beam Dream. You guys know I absolutely love this Beam Dream stuff. I drink it every night before bed, and it helps me sleep. It's your nighttime blend to support better sleep. Last night, I got some of the best sleep I've ever got, and it's been consistently good during this. Beam Dream, it's a hot cup of cocoa. You've got pumpkin spice flavor. You got caramel, all these different flavors, and it's delicious. It's got melatonin, magnesium, L-theanine. And I've been talking about this. You know what I think's helping me sleep in this one particularly? It's the magnesium, because I wasn't getting enough of it. And when I skate and I'm exercising, my muscles get all stiff, and then I would sleep poorly. I started drinking Beam Dream every night, and it gives me the things that I needed, and it's fantastic. Only 15 calories per glass, and no added sugar. Right now, Beam Dream's up to 50% off, the lowest price it's ever been. Go to shopbeam.com/TimPool. Limited time only, no code needed. You'll get 50% off. I really do recommend this stuff, guys. I love it. It is amazing. We also, my friends, on this weekend, click the link in the description below. Actually, I don't know if I have the link in just yet. The Culture War Live on Saturday, debating modern dating. How would you guys in the audience like to come up and join the debate stage? We will be having this live taping of the Culture War at the D.C. Comedy Loft in Washington, D.C. You've got preferred seating and general admission. Tickets are still available. I think we're around half sold out, so it's, you know, get it while you can. They usually tend to sell out, so probably by, closer to this week, they'll be gone. But the way it works, you as a member of the audience can submit your view on the subject, that is, dating in the modern era. We will call you up to the microphone. You can then make your point, and if you make an interesting point, you'll be invited onto the stage to debate all of us. We are going to be having Myron Gaines, Brian Shapiro, Alex Stein, me. Emily Saves America is calling out sick. I can't say just who we have yet, but we're talking to some prominent liberal personalities, which will make this show spicy and entertaining. And it's looking like we have a good probability that it does happen. So check out dccomedyloft.com. I'll put the link in the description below in a second. And don't forget to smash that like button. Share the show with everyone. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more, we have Mark Grimes.
Hey, Tim, how are you? Thanks for having your Canadian neighbor down today. Appreciate being here, and really happy to be here today.
Who are you? What do you do?
So 13 years I traded on the Toronto Stock Exchange floor, but the old days when you're throwing paper around. I did that for 13 years on Bay Street, which is your Wall Street. And I own a transportation logistics company, does a lot of business in the U.S. back and forth with trade between U.S. and Canada. And we spent 19 years in Toronto as a politician, as a city councilman. So, and also as the commissioner of the Ontario Junior A Lacrosse League, the best Junior A Lacrosse League in the world. We did that for 4 years. I just resigned about 5 months ago. So got a vast experience with a lot of things, but I'm happy to be here. Love being in the U.S. I got a home in upstate New York and then one in Florida, but my home is Toronto. But
are you excited to become the 51st state?
That's never going to happen, my friend. Never going to happen. Maybe we get into that later, but it's not going to happen. But.
Right on. Should be fun. Thanks for hanging out. We got Ian.
Hey, everybody. Good to be here. Ian Crossland. I am an actor, musician. I've been playing a lot with AI lately, putting stuff on my Instagram, doing music. Anyway, check me out on the internet at Ian Crossland if you want, but let's get into this. I have a magical guest in front of me tonight. I get to look at him all night.
Hello, everybody. My name is Phil Labonte. I am back. I'm the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains. I'm an anti-communist and counter-revolutionary. Let's get into it tonight.
And you're one other thing.
I am a father, yes. I'm back from
Nice.
a week and a half of paternity leave, and I left my girlfriend at home with the baby, and hopefully the baby doesn't puke on her too much.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Boy or girl?
Boy.
Nice.
Boy, yeah. So, had a son.
Oh, man.
It's pretty crazy. I mean, obviously, if you've got kids, you know the first couple weeks are a whirlwind. You're not sure when you're going to sleep. You're not sure exactly how to do anything. So you kind of just like, you feel like you're just kind of blindly making your way through it. But we got things into a bit of a routine now. So I was like, all right, I can come back to the IRL desk and talk smack about the left.
Let's go. Here's a story from the New York Post. Trump tells New York, you must vote for Andrew Cuomo over Zoran Mamdani in New York City election and ditch Curtis Sliwa. I feel so bad for Curtis Sliwa because he's a good dude. He's a good dude, but nobody expects him to win. And I'm sorry. Just I wouldn't vote for Cuomo. I wouldn't do it. It's not going to happen. Sorry. Donald Trump can say do it. They short of the Lord himself, I ain't voting for that guy. Now, I don't live in New York. I'm lucky. I left. But Cuomo failed his state miserably during COVID. Trump certainly has some faults during COVID, too. And I don't want Zoran Mamdani to win, but you put up Andrew Cuomo as your candidate. He should have dropped out and endorsed Sliwa. Sorry.
Well, I mean, my life is, do you, like, look at how corrupt the liberal economic order is, and then you know what the option is communism. And I'm like, bro, I don't want communism, but I'm not voting for corrupt corporatocracy. Same way with Cuomo, who put elderly people from nursing homes, or he put them in nursing homes during COVID and got a bunch of people sick.
COVID patients in nursing homes and killed 15,000 elderly people.
We've used the term murder. I mean, many times the word murder has been thrown around for what he did to those people. And now that they're running this guy, I don't know. I don't know who Curtis Sliwa is. If he should
He's the perennial Republican New York candidate for mayor, always running the Guardian Angels. He's a good dude, but he's just not with the New York zeitgeist, I guess. It's a bunch of Democrat wackos. So the best you can get, I suppose, is an independent Cuomo, but he couldn't even win the Democrat primary. That being said, I actually think he's got a decent chance to win. I'm still leaning towards Mamdani winning, but I do think Cuomo has a stronger chance than people realize.
Yeah, well, you pulled up the polls earlier. We were looking at in New York, they seem to want Cuomo, according to this poll that we were looking at earlier. But across the country, it's like 90% Mamdani. You know, you've got all the communists, or who I don't want to.
We'll get into that. But Elon Musk is backing Cuomo. Interestingly, Obama is not backing Mamdani.
That's really cool.
That's very weird.
Well, dude, Obama's, I want to pick that guy's brain. What is he thinking about the current state
Probably
of politics?
murdering children.
Just all day, every day. He's like,
He's just sitting
Michelle,
there being
we're going
like,
to go to a beach and look for little kids.
Wish I could have a third term, blow up more kids.
Like, he obviously hated Biden. He said, never, don't ever underestimate Joe Biden's ability to F shit up. Like, that was his quote, basically. He said that.
You
to F shit up. I know what. And so he knows that Biden was a busted object, so he's not totally checked out. He's a smart dude, and he's not getting involved.
It's kind of the best of the worst up there. My boys up in upstate New York, they do not like Cuomo whatsoever. But again, it comes down to the best of the worst. What's your options? So
I mean, I don't think that it's realistic to think that any kind of Republican can win in any kind of modern Republican can win in New York. Yeah, I feel like what's going on in the city is similar to what's going on in the UK, right? Like, even the people in the UK that are considered conservative would be considered Democrats by the US standards, right? None of them actually say things like that would be considered conservative by US standards. None of them want a smaller government. None of them want to limit the NHS. They want to expand the NHS. They want their National Health Service to take care of more people. They want to continue funding. They don't want to actually make the government smaller. And that's, that at least by American standards, conservatives want to make the government smaller. They want to limit the amount of programs that people are on, government programs that the people are on. Because if the government is paying for your food, the government can prevent you from eating. It's a system of control at the end of the day.
Pretty small right now. It's shut down. So
well, I mean,
it's great.
Fair enough,
I love it.
And I love the idea. But you know, I think that the idea that a real conservative could be elected in New York, I don't think that's realistic.
No, even Curtis Sliwa said not to deport illegal immigrants.
Yeah.
It's like New York's like a city-state back in the day. It was a big way of governance back in the day before countries got kicking, before technology and roads and writing and paperwork and all that. But city-states, New York's like a city-state. If you ever go live there, you can go into the city and never leave for 7 years. You don't have to leave the city. You have everything and then more, and you'll never run out of stuff to find.
Except there's no, like, they don't make their own food, but
Right,
as like a
import.
centralized hub.
They're all import. And this is in the 1800s. It was Vanderbilt controlled all the men who made America. You know, the richest man in America controlled the railroads and decided one day we're not going to ship food into New York anymore, and held the government by the balls. And it was a big part of the reason why they started like antitrust, breaking up monopolies, because these corporations can get way too powerful. But that's more of an aside. Living in a city, you garner a different mindset because you really are reliant on like the protector to make sure that the guy doesn't snap and stab you. You just can't. It's hard to take care of yourself in the city. If you shoot and the bullet misses and hits somebody else, you're liable.
Except now what's happening in New
Don't
York.
worry about that.
Now in New York, I mean, this has been this way in New York for a long time. Luke Rudkowski had that video from like a decade ago where a guy went on a stabbing rampage in the subway, and the cops were like, we are under no obligation to save lives. And so they stood back and watched as a dude was stabbing people, and some passenger intervened and stopped this murderous dude. And then after subduing the guy, and this dude gets all stabbed up, the cops intervene. And apparently there was a lawsuit over it, and the courts ruled, yeah, cops don't have to protect you. So now you end up in cities like New York with gangbangers and criminals, and Mamdani saying release all the inmates from Rikers.
Yeah.
It's just nuts. He has more sympathy for the murderers than for the children that get murdered.
Did he say why he wanted to release the criminals?
He said he went to Rikers, and the day he visited, someone killed themselves, took their own life because of the torturous conditions of Rikers.
Oh, okay. Well, there's a different story. Fix the conditions, maybe, but don't.
And so he said he wants new borough jails in every borough, and that he would close down Rikers and release these inmates. But while he tries to defend himself in the campaign trail now, saying, I'm not for releasing all these prisoners, he has in the past said, crime is a social construct. We need criminal deferral programs instead, where instead of going to jail, you get released with an ankle monitor or something. And he's called for replacing cops with social workers and defunding the police. So we know what he actually wants. Now he's saying what he has to say to get elected.
But show me a city that's Republican run. Like, you know, even in Toronto, like everything is downtown for the Democrats. Like, you know, the city that never sleeps, like New York. The jobs that come with that, the restaurants, the dishwashers, they all, you know, that's the jobs they have to live. They need to have transit. They can't live out in the suburbs, but they're, you know, any city in North America is usually Democrat. And the further you go from the city, the more Republican it comes.
Is that like that in Toronto too?
Oh, absolutely. But they said the services are there for the people that need it, that are all downtown. The transit's there for them. They get, you know, there's all kinds of services for them. So that's why they're kind of congregated in the downtowns of these major cities. And the further you go out, you ask a farmer if he's a Democrat, you don't find very many of those, but that's historically the way it is. You show me one Republican city in the United States, I don't think there is any.
Yeah, I think for a brief period a few years ago, San Diego had a Republican mayor. But, yeah, all the urban centers are run by Democrats.
Yeah.
And that's, you think, because it's a phenomenon because of like the reliant on public transport?
Well, travelers, again, the jobs that come with these big cities, you need, you know, people to work in the restaurants and, you know, from the service industry to the dishwashers. And I always said when I was in politics, you know, we have to make it affordable. You can't have a guy come, you know, 5 miles to come and wash dishes in downtown Toronto or downtown New York. You can't afford it. You can't afford to take the transit. So they have to live, and that's why you need affordable housing to make the cities work, right? So, you know, historically, it's been Democrat-run, very left-leaning in the cities. And the service is there for the people that need it. You know, the people that are less fortunate, that are out there, you know, begging for money and panhandling. That's where the people are going to be. So that's where they kind of congregate, right?
Man, I'm thinking about Shays' rebellion after the American government was formed, and basically the farmers, after they went off and fought the revolution, they came back and they owed all this debt because they hadn't been able to run their farms to the cities. And the cities were like, we don't want your soft currency anymore. We don't want your food. We want hard currency. We need money because we need to pay back the French. So they tried to take money from the farmers that they didn't have, and the farmers just revolted and went to the city and like stood outside courthouses, basically ready to serve a real revolution again, because the cities were trying to control the outlying territory, probably since the dawn of man. That's been happening. They congregate, they get centralized power, and then they try and take over everything else. I don't want to talk out of hand about the Chinese because I don't really know how they're doing their central planning, but with the right technology, you can sort of try and take over your environment.
Well, I mean, China has done a really good job of intruding into just about every aspect of the Chinese people's lives.
Probably propping up Mamdani.
I wouldn't.
There are a bunch of crazy accusations about NGOs that have been funneling money. This was a big story, apparently. Soros is accused of funneling some $40 million or whatever through various NGOs that propped up Mamdani. I am not convinced he is popular as people outside of New York think he is. And so there's a lot of questions about this election, not just the polling, but the question of whether or not the Democrat machine will allow these far leftists to actually take over.
I was wondering about that.
I mean, this is a conversation that we've had a lot, right? The kind of the energy of the base is with the far left, but the Democrats have had as much influence and success as they have because they've been getting donations from people that are, left leaning, but they're capitalists. They have money. They're, millionaires and billionaires that have given tons of money to Democrat candidates. I mean, you look at Hillary Clinton's campaign, raised raised $1 billion to run her campaign. Barack Obama spent $1 billion on his campaign. I'm not sure what Joe Biden spent, but it was more than Donald Trump. They're getting these donations because
and they're organized and they stick together and they vote, right? The right seems to, I have so many friends in Toronto say, what happened? How'd you run? How you didn't vote? Like, you got 30% people showing up for an election in your city. Ridiculous.
Yeah, but the Democrats are with the civil war that's going on in the Democrat Party. They're trying to figure out if they're going to have the support of these billionaires that were Democrats, or if they're going to continue to leave the Democrat Party because the Democrat Party is becoming more hostile to people that have money. The more the Democrats focus on class warfare, the less actual big donors they're going to have, because those people are going to be like, well, I want to give money to Democrats because it makes me feel good because they're the nice party, but I'm not going to give money to Democrats if they're going to make policies like, you have to pay a wealth tax every year on whatever money or whatever, assets you have.
That's a good point, because if the liberal economic order is really a corporatocracy, which it seems like it's run by corporate giants, they don't want to empower a communist or a socialist, because that guy will try and take away power from corporations and give it to the state. So I can only imagine that they don't want him to be mayor, but maybe they want just the U.S. to fall. I'm thinking about like global, money power, like Bank for International Settlements, bankers. They want the U.S. to fumble so that a new system, a corporatocracy with a technocracy, can come in through the World Economic Forum, corporate governance. They would like to see the U.S. fail. But I don't know if installing a guy that's semi-communist, socialist, I don't know how he defines himself.
He's a socialist.
He's a communist.
Yeah.
He's literally tweeted from each according to their need to each according to their ability. Let's pull up this story from the New York Post. Bombshell. New York City election eve poll predicts Zoran Mamdani and Andrew Cuomo mayoral race will come down to the wire. Now, we got this from Kalshi. The New York City mayor election has got Zoran Mamdani at 90%. Andrew Cuomo at 11% and Curtis Sliwa at 1%, which, of course, is greater than 100% for whatever reason. And I will say this, full disclosure, today, I purchased shares of Yes for Andrew Cuomo, the independent, for two big reasons. First is this. From Kalshi, breaking, Cuomo holds significantly more support inside of NYC than Mamdani per Kalshi data. What you are seeing in the Kalshi trading data, 90% for Mamdani, these are people who are purchasing shares, meaning they are predicting Zoran wins. However, that's outside the city. According to Kalshi's data, inside the city, among people who can actually vote and who know, Cuomo is ahead by 9%. Now, based on that alone, I looked at the 9-1 odds, Zoran versus Cuomo, and I said, that is not correct. Cuomo certainly is losing in the polls for the most part, but it is way closer than that. Now, this just means 90% of people outside and, well, combined with people inside New York and outside, they believe Zoran's going to win. Not that the polls reflect Cuomo may win. Cuomo may be down by 1 point, and so everybody just says Mamdani's going to win. But here's what I think. I think all that matters to the people inside New York, and they're giving an edge to Cuomo by 9%. Additionally, the question is, will the Democrat establishment allow a Zoran Mamdani upstart to actually win against someone like Cuomo?
It's going to come to voter turnout. I don't know what the voter turnout is in New York for a mayor's race, but this has been in the media. I think you're going to get a big turnout. I think you're going to probably see a record turnout for this election.
Maybe, and certainly that is the forward-facing question. Will people vote? My argument is actually the corrupt Wall Street machine ain't going to let a communist win in New York City and screw up all their beautiful gains.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to come down to voter turnout. So that's but that's the left.
I'm implying they'll cheat.
Yeah,
I'm implying they're going to cheat.
Oh, I don't.
Not voter turnout. I'm saying that the powers that control New York's financial interests ain't going to let a communist win. It's bad news for them. It's bad news for their billions. He's talking about just taxing more and more people. All these people are going to be like, we will do whatever it takes to stop this guy. And I make that bet. That's the bet I make. I think I'm wrong. Well, no, I don't think I'm wrong, but I do think Mamdani still has the greater chance to win. I think that's fair.
I like how you said, you're like, this is what I think. I think I'm wrong, but I think that would have been cool if you rolled with that. I thought the same thing about Trump. I thought there's no way they're going to let this guy become president again.
Right.
This is the third time. I was wrong. I had faith, maybe because I held the faith. That was part of it. But I just thought, like, how could it possibly, with digital hacking, voting machines, carrying bags of votes and all this, like,
right.
How could it?
I think Mamdani is likely to win. However, I think the odds that they have for Cuomo are way off. And what is it, like $100 of yes will net you like $1,000?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, hey, probably going to lose. Also, it's kind of nuts how you can basically just, I don't want to say bet, but trade on literally anything. I will also give a shout out to Kalshi. They do sponsor the show when we shout them out in their predictions. But I do think it's incredibly insightful to track what people in this country are thinking. And here's what I was thinking about it. These people who are purchasing on Kalshi, they're not randomly buying. These are people who are researching their trades because they truly believe an event is going to happen. And you could see it today in one of the markets, which was SNAP benefits getting delayed. 98% said yes before announcement was even made. And then they announce Trump is delaying and reducing benefits, which the market accurately predicted because people are betting to make money. I will say, however, it's pretty crazy because there are always people who buy the long shots. And so if you wager on Zoran like $100, you win like $2. But $2 is $2. You know what I mean? You put $2,000, you win $20. $20 is $20.
Horse to show.
What is it?
Right.
Horse to show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you got $100 to spare instead of wagering on Mamdani, you should buy like some kind of stock that's doing well or something because that'll probably get you a little more profit than $2.
Well, the question I got for you guys is, who's the establishment candidate? Is Zoran the new establishment candidate, or is it still Cuomo?
It's Cuomo.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I agree with Ian. I think it is Cuomo. I do think that there's going to be significant pushback against Mamdani, even if he wins. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be working against whatever his policy, whatever policies he's trying to implement in New York, because there's a lot of people with a lot of money that don't want to see the kind of taxation that, Mamdani would be likely to implement. It's already super expensive to live in New York. There's already a municipal tax for living in New York. The people that make money in New York, I don't think that there's like a New York income tax, is there?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
So if you work in New York, you have to pay a tax on the income that you make in New York City, huh?
Yeah.
That's crazy. But I mean, like, I don't imagine that the people that are making a lot, the people that make a lot of money are going to look too fondly on that. And they're probably not going to be like, oh, I want to get out of here right away. I think they're going to try to use their resources and their connections to try to limit his ability to implement his policy.
You have the highest income tax combo rate in New York City for the entire country because they've got federal, state, and city income tax. And I think the city income tax is like 3% or something. And so it's just nuts how much money they take from you. And then Mamdani is just a lunatic. It was funny because he's like, we're going to make the buses faster and we're going to make them free. And I was talking to my wife earlier because we're watching the news, and she's like, has Zoran mentioned where the money is going to come from for making the buses free? And I was like, of course not.
It's coming from upstate New York, where my lake house is. It's like the taxes I'm paying up there are ridiculous. And the people all up in upstate New York say, we're paying for New York City. And that's what it is.
If
feel like you're
buses
subsidizing
could
the
be
city?
free, buses would be free. The reason they're not free is someone has to pay the people who fixes the buses,
You also
who
want
drives the buses, who
keep people-
coordinates for the buses.
with the people that would just get on the bus and sleep because they have nowhere to go. You got to keep those people off the
Hey,
bus.
look, I'm gonna when I finally run, I'm gonna not only the bus is gonna be free, they're gonna pay you. When you walk on the bus, you press the button, a $5 bill comes right out.
You get paid per mile that you stay on the
You
bus.
can have it charge your
$5.
pants while you sit. Your graphene pants. Store up your energy.
I have no idea what you're talking about. My point is, Zoran
that's your
Mamdani says
payment.
free buses and they're gonna go faster. Well, my buses are going to go faster than that, and they're going to pay you to ride them. Because the question of where the money... Exactly. Yep, the buses will watch your kids.
Do you feel, Mark, like you guys subsidize upstate? Do you feel like you subsidize the city?
Well, that's the feeling up there. I know when Cuomo was there, all my boys in Rochester, they couldn't stand the guy, all the business guys, so they couldn't. But they said the taxes. And I forget the guy's name from Paycheck. I think he owned Paychecks. He was suing the city of New York. I forget where that went, but he was suing because the amount of tax money we're paying up there is it's ridiculous. Like I got an acre and a half up there, and I think I'm paying close to $8,000 US, which is like 13,000, 14,000 my Canadian money, but like
For an acre?
an acre and a half on the water, right? But
I'm probably an hour. My place in New Hampshire is probably an hour and a half from the New York border, maybe 2 hours. I'm not sure exactly how long it takes to get across Vermont, but I'm right on the Vermont New Hampshire border. I pay just a little bit more than that for 50 acres.
yeah, it's crazy. But the guys up in Rochester, they're flipping out like.
Man. Maybe this is the accelerationist part of my brain, but like maybe it would be good if Mamdani became, I was going to say president, mayor.
He cannot be president.
So, okay, mayor, so that we can see what happens when you try and apply.
Brandon Johnson.
Brandon Johnson in Chicago. He's
Been there,
already
done that. We learned our lesson. We all thought that electing socialists would wake people up to how insane things are, but what happens is people just flee the city, and the stupid people stick around, and it entrenches communism.
Yeah, and the people that stick around, they say, well, we just didn't do the communism hard enough.
Yep.
We have to do
And people
more.
are fleeing the cities. In Toronto during COVID, people started working from home, and they said, hey, we're going to move a couple hours outside the city of Toronto. And they're buying places, and they're leaving. People are leaving.
I tell people not to leave, stay in your home. But I was just in New York, and when we drove about 30 minutes out of the city, I smelled New York coming, and it was disgusting.
You're talking coming through.
Going from west to east across Jersey into the city through the
Yeah, it smells like sour milk.
There's refineries in Jersey. Part of the reason why it stinks like that is because you're going on 95. You're going past a lot of the refineries and stuff like that. So look,
Bro, New York smells like sour milk.
fair enough. I mean, all
it
cities
does.
do, but like. I feel like in New Jersey, like that part of 95 in New Jersey
Really gets you
smells
ready.
uniquely bad because of the oil refineries and
Sure.
stuff that are going on there. So
yeah.
look, I'm not particularly a fan of New Jersey. I was just getting hell from Michael Knowles on X because I was making jokes about New Jersey. But
Was he from New Jersey or
I
something?
think he was born in New Jersey.
Ah, that's a shame.
Look, Michael, don't hate me too much.
Yeah, I don't know. If Mamdani wins, it's going to be like Brandon Johnson. But I think Mamdani's a lot smarter than Brandon Johnson. Brandon Johnson was like an accidental candidate. Mamdani is more like an evil guy. Some people I've talked with, they say he's retarded and evil, perhaps. I think he's just generally evil.
I can't tell. I've watched some clips, and it seems like he enjoys the publicity, which is a problem. That's a red flag for me. I mean, you have to kind of enjoy publicity if you want to be a public figure, but I don't want my elected officials to enjoy it too much. It's kind of like you have to
can't
be
do
there.
anything about that.
Yeah.
The bigger issue is that he's doing really well with the 90 IQ and below class when he says things like free buses and faster buses.
It's like all electric.
Okay, I gotta say, I said it before, but really the faster buses thing is what gets me. Because it's something you tell a little kid. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I got you this little wagon, and we're going to put these flame decals to make it go faster.
Well, faster doesn't.
You're like, wow.
Like in New York, that means you might hit the wall quicker. Like you need more fluid traffic in New York as a whole, but that's not just the buses.
Faster buses.
Yeah, the
more
idea.
organized.
You're giving, they're getting basically the stuff for free. I mean, if people are giving you free, you're gonna love the guy. And I remember during, I forget, I was down the southern border when I forget what station was interviewing the people coming across the border, the immigrants coming across, and they're saying, "Who would you vote for?" And they're going, "Oh, Joe Biden, Joe Biden." Of course, they're letting you in. They're giving you money. Get on a bus. We're going to fly you to New York. We're going to fly you to St. Louis. We're going to fly you to Wisconsin. Of course, they're going to vote for. They're going to love you. You come to the country. They're giving you, put you on a plane.
Let's jump to this story from the Post-Millennial. Millions may flee New York City if Mamdani elected mayor. JL Partners poll. The poll found that 25% would consider packing their bags to head out, which would amount to 2.12 million. Yeah, consider is not the same as would leave, but a lot of people would. Around 765,000 New York City residents would be prepared to leave the Big Apple, according to the poll. The current population of New York is around 8.5 million, which is way down, which is crazy. The poll found that 9% of New Yorkers would definitely leave the city. However, the poll also found that 25% would also consider packing their bags to head out, which would amount to 2.12 million. The poll highlighted the alarm many feel as Mamdani may become the next mayor of the Big Apple and has previously called for defunding the police, has vowed to increase taxes on the wealthy and other businesses, a $30 minimum wage, as well as vowed to implement a number of other left-wing policies. The poll also asked what people thought the state of the city would be in 4 years if Mamdani was elected. Some of the terms they used were disaster, hell, chaos, destroyed, and ishhole. Those stumping for Mamdani, however, used the following for terms they thought the city would be like: affordable, improved, hopeful, and changed. Additionally, 7% of those earning $250,000 or more a year would also definitely leave under a potential Mamdani term, meaning a loss of tax base, as the top 1% of earners in the Big Apple pay around half the tax base for the city. Okay, I will say this. Part of me does hope he wins. I know that we've learned our lesson with Brandon Johnson. I just kind of want to see it because he's talking about increasing the minimum wage to $30, which is the stupidest thing imaginable. It's something a 7-year-old comes up with. Why don't we just give them more money? Then they have money for food. Oh, gee, why don't we think of that? That this guy's a retard. Then you're taxing the top 1%, they will leave. It's funny when the U.S. government tries to raise taxes on the billionaires, and then they all go to St. Kitts and Nevis and renounce their U.S. citizenship and then become island dwellers with passports that can go anywhere. But it's a bit harder to do. It's extremely easy to leave a city, especially if you're a billionaire. So what's going to happen? Every single billionaire with real estate, every millionaire with real estate, even people who make $500,000, probably going to switch their residency to Florida. And as long as they spend more than half the year in Florida, they don't got to pay New York City taxes or New York state taxes. And I think we're going to see that. They'll still fly to New York periodically for business. They'll still own property, but they are going to GTFO. I am willing to bet that if Mamdani is elected mayor, he will increase taxes. He will work with the city council to raise taxes, and then their tax revenue is going to drop because they don't understand the Laffer curve.
Kevin, Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary, yeah, he said he got his business out of New York already.
Canadian boy.
Well, that was when they tried seizing Trump's properties.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
He said, this is nuts. No developer is going to want to go into New York if you're going to lie to try and seize their properties.
Yeah.
And they did. They did try to seize Trump's properties. It's crazy.
Like, you just need to rely on the corporation, the corporatocracy to run your cities. I know that sounds horrible because we're supposed to be for the people, by the people governance, but if the corporations leave your big city is going to be a big, open, smelly, rotting cesspool without economy, and no one's going to want to go there because there's not going to be money to pay people to clean it up. It does feel like we are held hostage by the corporatocracy,
but they're creating the wealth. They're creating the jobs. You got the construction jobs on the development. You need construction workers. They're good paying jobs. You got,
And can we?
I have a friend who lived in the Trump Towers. A good friend of mine, very wealthy guy. He just took off and he moved to Florida. He said, "I'm out of here. I'm done. I'm done with New York."
The mom and pop shops that got hammered during COVID.
We need a new market on Kalshi for if Zoran Mamdani gets elected. Will they be forced to create a poop department like San Francisco?
Here's to praying.
Well, people saying they're going to move out. If they win, I'm going to consider moving. Look happened like when Trump won. Who said, like Springsteen? He said he's moving out of town.
But a lot
how many of those all those stars said we're moving out of the country. How many moved?
A lot of them did. And this is crazy
Rosie
because
O'Donnell did it. She's
Ellen.
and Ellen
maybe.
And there's a handful of others we've talked about. But the issue is leaving the country is hard.
Exactly.
Leaving a city is easy.
Yeah.
Very easy.
Especially a city that's like, especially if you are in the north. Most people that are in the north, and if they've got, if they have access to a lot of money, they don't spend all winter in New York. The winter is, personally, I'm not a fan of the winter, and it's in New York. It gets cold. A lot of people are like, I get out of there for the, as much as I can for the winter time. So if you're going to be like, oh well, it's going to cost you a bunch of, an X amount more dollars just to live here, it's a situation where it's kind of like, well, that's the straw that broke the camel's back, I
only ever spent time in New York because I had to, for work, for business, as an actor. I never wanted to be there. It's like, I don't say hell on earth, but it is chaos.
I mean, I'm not a city guy anyway.
Still a great. I mean, it's one of the greatest cities in the world, New York. To me, I got engaged there on New Year's Eve with Dick Clark one year. But it's like,
Nice.
People love going to New York. Even Toronto, where they compare Toronto as a mini New York, a little bit cleaner, a little bit slower than New York. But New York's a great city. It really is, and it's just a shame to see this happening. It's a shame to see all these in Seattle. What's going on? It's I've been to Seattle before all that crap happened out there. It's like it's so discouraging to see it happen.
I think driving in New York was what got me because my PTSD was kicking in. I was like,
no, you don't drive in New York. That's crazy. I wouldn't even.
Foot traffic there's beautiful. It's wonderful. Maybe some dirty parts of Brooklyn, smell, but like Manhattan particularly.
If I have to go to New York, I still drive in. I'm not a fan of it, but and I probably wouldn't take my Tesla. I'd probably take the Jeep. But even like when I go to New York, I'll drive in just because I don't like having to rely on trains.
Then do you stick it in a garage and do everything from foot? Yeah, trying to get around, and then like, where's parking? 25 minutes later, I think I found a spot. Oh no, it's a no standing spot.
No, I used to just go and park down by where the label
Actually,
headquarters was.
It's actually very easy to park in New York. This is just not during business hours. So
at night it is, yeah.
Around 6 o'clock, you can park wherever you want.
Yeah.
Because everybody leaves, and then you've got like an hour before it fills back up. It's that hour where everyone's leaving work and then coming back home from those who commute from New York.
Matt, if you could put all your traffic underground, like Elon's Boring Company building these tunnels, so all of Manhattan roads, if they were underground, I know we have the subway, that'd be hard to do. But if the surface was like grass and you could walk out of those buildings and it was clean and there wasn't traffic, honking, smelling.
Bro, nobody's walking from the financial district to the Upper East Side.
This is all just.
I heard a lot of the Wall Street firms are moving to Texas. I'm up on it like you.
Oh,
guys,
yeah.
They're leaving. Those Wall Street firms are saying, we're out of here, our whole team. We're going to Texas. I don't. You guys are probably up in that more than me, but
if
those guys start fleeing out of there, like I said, I worked on the floor of the stock exchange when we traded on the floor. Writing tickets out. Now with the new technology, now you can almost trade. These guys are trading from home. The guys I still worked with, they're trading from home. You can trade.
If you work in finance in New York, and you have not prepared a contingency plan for a Zoran Mamdani mayoral victory, you're a moron. However, if Cuomo wins, you buy yourself some time, but you look at what they're doing to the city, I think it's only a matter of time before you get a Mamdani.
Yep. That's true, too.
At least a young guy. Like, it's time. It's somebody young, that for sure. Cuomo's, what, 70
well, no, but
the
the point that Tim's making is that, like, because of the how close this is likely to be, so even if Cuomo does win, there will be someone coming that has similar policy proposals to Mamdani, even if it's not Mamdani. It would be likely that Mamdani would run again, like, whenever they have another mayoral election. But this sentiment is something that is widespread in the U.S. It's not just in New York, right? Like this sentiment is the reason why AOC has the influence that she does. This sentiment is the reason why Bernie had the influence that he did, because people like that kind of left-leaning populism.
I guess maybe we need a little more socialism. Or a little more because
I guess we don't.
Well, hell on earth could be if you went to a city and it was owned and run by a corporation. That would be the word.
It'd be better than
you can leave.
Yeah, you can leave, and you can also like you can go to a different place. You can decide you don't want to do business with that corporation or whatever. The government is the guy, or the ones with the monopoly on force. It is always worse to have a big government in control of everything than a corporation in control of everything.
I don't know.
And now
The company was
it's
like
still bad if there's one massive corporation controlling everything with private security marching around.
making you use their
So
currency. And
neither is good, but government substantially worse because they're the ones that monitor you in your homes and force you to do things you don't want to do, and they don't let you leave either, like we saw in East Germany.
Yeah, the government's supposed to just stop the corporation from becoming megacorp, but it failed. It's not supposed to create pseudo megacorp.
It is megacorp. That's what the government is. Like the idea that like the government is going to prevent the megacorp, the government already is the megacorp. And they're the ones with the monopoly on violence.
They're supposed to stop like Standard Oil, what they did to Rockefeller, Standard Oil. They're supposed to break up monopolies, but they go overseas now, so there's no way to stop it.
They're not really supposed to do that. So governments have, in my opinion, governments should have a very limited amount of power, and there should be a very few specific things that they are allowed to do. And breaking up monopolies, to me, generally, there is not something that they should be doing.
That only problem is like the East India Company. When you start to see corporations get so big, they become governments of their own, and then they use scrip instead of dollars. You don't have a
what
dollar.
happened to the East India Company?
Well, it controlled India.
No, what happened to it? Why is it
after
not
like 200
still in
years,
control?
I don't know how it fell up, what it ended up turning
Because
into.
it doesn't remain in power the way governments do.
Yeah,
Corporations.
interesting. All the governments from back then are functioning. In fact, there's new ones emerging. But the company itself is gone.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Why did it fail?
There's another funny point that somebody made is that far-right governments tend to slowly dissolve and far-left go nuclear, kill a bunch of people, and then go belly up. So, like, you look at Spain, and it's like the far-right took over, and then he died, and they're like, I guess we'll have elections. The far-left runs everyone to the ground, massacres millions, and then implodes from lack of human capability.
The far left will tell you it's communist, but then they'll create vanguardist systems, and then they'll keep telling you it's communist, and so they have
Keep trying to defend communism, but I don't think you know what that
They're
word
not
means.
really communists. They kill to protect their power, whereas in the right, he's just straight up like, yo, I'm the power. And everyone knows ahead of time. They're not lying to you. And then when he dies, there's a power vacuum that everyone's been expecting. But on the left, they make you think it's not. They make you think it's normal to have this communist group. And so
The problem with the left, Michael Malice put it succinctly a couple of years ago. Do you think some people are better than others? The left says no. The right says yes. The view on the left is that billionaires are the same as they are. I mean, this is really the arrogance of the left. They look at Elon Musk and Donald Trump and they say, those people are stupid. And I'm sitting here being like, listen, you can call Donald Trump a lot of things. You can call him brash. But the man became a billionaire because he understood something. And these people, you ask these leftists, why aren't you a billionaire? And they go, because I'm not willing to be evil. Like, no, it's because you're too stupid to navigate the system to make yourself wealthy and successful. That's the reality. You know what the funny thing is about the right? The right recognizes their own limitations. Not every single person. It's not absolute. There's a guy's a plumber, and he goes, listen, I'm just a plumber. Okay? I understand what I can do with my job. I understand how much money I'm going to make. I'm not going to be Elon Musk. The left says, I'm a plumber. Why aren't I a billionaire? It's like, well, because you're a plumber, dude. Some people are these crazy intellects and workhorses that do things, and some people just aren't. Some people are really dumb, but work really hard and find success. The number one factor was always perseverance. That's the problem with the left. They genuinely believe in a communist utopia where if it weren't for these parasite billionaires, everything would be perfect because they've never actually tried to manage a business. And they don't understand why HR exists. You know what I love is the people who complain about HR. And they'll be like, isn't it annoying that they make you watch these workplace, guideline videos about sexual harassment or whatever? And they think the corporations are just doing it. It's actually the law. And so they're like, we're legally obligated to have these. Our insurance company's requiring it. We're legally required to have insurance. So the people who run the companies only have limited control as it is. And my favorite thing about this is having tried to run, or literally having run numerous businesses even to this day. I got to tell you, there are people with gumption and vision, and there are people who don't, and to varying degrees are capable of doing certain jobs. I guarantee you, if you got rid of the billionaires, the entire country goes Mad Max.
Yep.
They're not billionaires because they're evil parasites. They're billionaires because they're smart, they work, and they build they build management systems.
Sure, and there are evil parasites that become billionaires, and they can do immense amount of damage because when you have that amount of power, your actions are amplified. But that doesn't mean that it's the richness that's doing.
If they're evil parasites, how do they get into such positions of power?
Well, they might inherit it. They might become twisted through the process of getting their money.
Like George Soros.
Greed, betraying people in business. You didn't sign it, or you signed what you thought you didn't, and I don't care.
That is fake. That's not real. That doesn't exist.
But getting someone to sign something they didn't understand?
Yep.
I don't.
That is a trope. That is not real. I explain this all the time.
You can manipulate people in business
no,
pretty easy.
I explain this. I explain this all the time, dude. People think, this is one of the things that I think separates. At least there's a scale of capability in running a business. If you live in the world where you're like, if it's written on paper and signed, it's law, you are going to hold yourself back because the people that are running systems aren't thinking in these terms, and these terms are not correct. Elon Musk doesn't sit there and say, I am bound by these walls. Elon says, what must you do to get to point A from point A to point B? But I'll put it this way. If you trick someone into signing a contract, you know what's going to happen? They will not abide by the contract. And then you can try to sue them, and a judge will say, are you joking? And throw it out, and you got to pay their legal fees.
But if you're not tricking them, they just don't read the contract. People don't, normal people, like plebs, they don't have
Ian,
acumen, and they don't have money for a lawyer.
Ian, if you're a billionaire, right, and you're dealing with someone else who is on a similar level with you, that guy has a team of lawyers that's going to deal with with any kind of contracts. When they're talking about when we were talking about the situation that Donald Trump was in, right? So when he did the what's it called? The deal in Florida, right, for Mar-a-Lago, and there was the company, the bank that he did the deal with, right? Like they both said, we are happy with this.
You mean the Deutsche Bank building in New York?
Oh, so yeah, I'm sorry. He
was building a building in New York, and they argued that he gave the wrong square footage. Yeah. Here's the important thing to understand.
But they're both sophisticated participants. You don't get a sophisticated participant dealing with a pleb.
Well, if you're hiring them, that's what I'm talking about.
But you're not going to make $1 million or billions of dollars as like if you're a billionaire and you're just hiring someone.
So let's break it down, Ian. If I said, Ian, let's do a music contract. I'll give you 10% of profits generated after cost, and you went, got it. I didn't trick you. If you then later go, how come I'm only getting 10%? You tricked me. I say, no. Whether you understood or didn't isn't my problem. I made you an offer
right. The ethics
in good faith. It's not about
like
ethics.
As a friend, you'd be like,
"Hey, communist BS. This is the communist
BS."
BS.
As a friend, if it was friends and you were talking with the guy, you'd be like, 10%'s too low. They're going to offer you 10. You have to push back to get 20 or 30. But when you're the business partner, you don't tell them that ahead of time because you want them to take 10%.
And if the person agrees to the terms,
it's not really. It's just.
It's not evil at all.
Cutthroat. I mean, you do.
It's not cutthroat at all. You know? This is communism. This is my problem with communists. Is that I'm looking at the products that we make, and let's just say skateboards, and I say, here's our cost to make it. Here's how much money we have to generate after the fact. We got to pay staff. We need to have a rainy day fund, so we need to generate X amount of dollars per sale. I can offer you X amount of dollars per board. They go, okay. They sign the deal. Then when the money comes in and the business generates $4 million and they get paid out $100,000, they go, whoa, but how did you get $4 million? And you say, we got to pay insurance. We got to pay property taxes. We got to pay for products. We got to pay for marketing. We got to pay all these things. And they go, I think that's not fair. You ripped me off. You're evil.
You took the risk. You took the risk. You put your house up, whatever you done.
Right.
You put your money up on the table. They don't, right?
So
and then they complain, I didn't understand. I was only going to get paid this much.
Tell me if you think this is evil. If you are working with another, you're trying to do a deal with a company and you know, shit, if they sign with that other company, I'm not going to be able to get this deal. So you don't tell them about that other company. You just get them to sign your contract really fast. And then later they find out there was another opportunity that you knew about.
Why is that evil?
People might say that because it's just business. But in a human way, that would be a horrible thing to do to a friend, a person that you care about. So that's where they think it's like that would be considered evil and how
they're a cutthroat businessman for sure. I'm just arguing in this in the simple of so often a lot of people enter into contracts that they I just watched this movie called Dead Money with Emil Hirsch, and there's a really interesting legal question that arises at the end of the movie. Spoiler alert! So the movie's only a year old, but you get a spoiler. I'll keep it light. Basically, there's two bad guys, and they're trying to steal. I'll use an arbitrary amount of money so I don't spoil the movie for you guys. Let's say there's $1 million, and they say he's like, "Hey, I'm going to pay you $100,000 to do this job." The guy says, "I want half," and he goes, "Half? Are you nuts?" Okay, fine, you can have half, $500,000. Later, when they rob the joint, they come back with $3 million, and he goes, "Okay, now I'm going to give you your $500,000." The guy says, "No, I said half." And he goes, "No, half of the first number. We got extra. I'm giving you $100,000." Now he wants, he wanted 500. Now he's asking for 1.5, and there's an argument over what was the actual terms. So that was an interesting way to look at the legal issue. The guy, the stupid guy, is like, "You said half," and he goes, "No, you said half, and then I offered you 100." He said, "Yes, so you get 100. Or I'm sorry, 500. Whatever. You get the point." I'm going to say this before we move on to the next subject. The main point of this is when you say things like someone entered into a contract because they didn't understand it, and that's not a real thing. If you enter into a contract and I put something malicious or untoward or even unreasonable in it, the judge will rip that contract up in 2 seconds. If I said, Ian, if I made you sign a contract for music that also granted me power of attorney, the whole thing's going to get torn up in court. I mean, judge is going to say that's a ridiculous contract.
I think a lot of terms of service are ridiculous, but
and they all get torn up in court
if they get challenged. Sometimes people just play along; they just go along with it to get.
Yes, but no one needs to challenge these things. Terms of service is the reason nobody reads them is because nothing happens ever from them. The point is, if you were tricked into bad terms, those terms will be voided in a second.
Yeah, that's probably a bad example of an evil corporate overlord tricking people into signing contracts. They just will, need to know basis. If you didn't hear it from me, sign it quick. False sense of urgency. That's done in business a lot. Here's the other thing
evil
people can do in business to get ahead.
This is the other thing a lot of people don't realize too. If I enter into a contract with somebody and then I thought those terms unfavorable, you can renegotiate the terms at any point. At any point. You know why? All that matters is you get the balls to do it. So I've entered into contracts before, and then I'll keep the description of these contracts light. Signed a deal, and then it turns out they were trying to pull revenue that I didn't expect them to pull, that they'd argued did fall into the terms. And so I simply responded very politely with, "Okay, well, you're never going to do that again. And we're going to make sure that's clear." It doesn't. And they said, "Well, Tim, you signed the contract." And I said, "If you want to go to war, I will make you regret it. Let's be nice right now and say we're not playing that game." Okay, no problem. So if you want to sit there and just say, "Drat, you tricked me and you're taking my money from me," sure, people are going to rip you off left and right. But if you actually challenge any of these people, it never even goes to court.
That's what I'm talking about. People will rip those people off left and right. Not everybody, but the opportunism and the human behavior is.
And that's why it's even worse when a government has unilateral authority to put a gun in your mouth if you don't listen.
Or a corporation.
Corporations can't do that.
The East India Company did that for 150 years in India.
You're talking about war
biggest
in
military
foreign
on the planet.
countries.
It was the biggest military on the planet.
You're talking about war in foreign countries.
It was just conquest.
You're talking about war in foreign countries.
You're talking about the British creating a corporation that became bigger than the British Empire.
And they weren't going to their citizens and stealing from them. They were just going to foreign countries and invading. You're talking about war in foreign countries versus contract law. They're completely different things. Well, in the United States, we have constitutional protections and rights. Sure, they're eroding, but it is still always going to be better to have a corporation as opposed to a government, despite the fact the corporations are still bad.
I think it's the same thing. It's just
a different
word. It just depends on the size of the military and how many people are running it.
Hey, Ian, just so you know, the East India Company, their rule of India ended in 1858 when the British Crown just said, "We're seizing your property."
Yeah.
It was the government that actually had the ability to say, "Hey, you're no longer in charge here. We're the ones that are in charge."
They let them run.
And additionally, Ian, what you're arguing is that a totalitarian corporate authority, you're arguing it is a government.
Technically, it's a type of.
Then you're saying government is bad.
Oh, no. Totalitarian government is bad, whether it's corporate or otherwise.
So there's no such thing as you're playing a semantic game.
Maybe. I don't mean to be,
right.
but
that's why
I think we are, because we're both talking about totalitarianism really is the problem. Whether it's your government that you elected or a corporation that you didn't, if it's totalitarian, that's.
So you're talking about a totalitarian system that seized control and you're calling it a corporation.
I'm not like
I am not at all concerned about Walmart violating my rights.
Really? What about Alphabet?
A little bit, maybe. It's big corporations, monopolistic powers are bad.
What's that?
Big corporations with monopolistic powers are bad.
No, we've had to like
no one
skate
from
the ice.
Google is going to come and put a gun in my mouth and steal my money from me.
No one from Amazon isn't your enemy, right? Like an Amazon is a massive, massive corporation. They do business with like 300. They service like 300 million people worldwide. They have a couple million employees. Google is unique in that it is a technology company, and it's got so much access to information because of the security, because people trust it with security things like, so that way they can do banking, and so that way they can have access to passwords and stuff like that. But technology companies like that are unique compared to just about every other type of corporation in the world.
Yeah.
Let's move on. We'll jump to the story from CNN. The Trump administration will provide only half of usual food stamp benefits in November. It has been announced, ladies and gentlemen, some $4.65 billion from the SNAP contingency fund will be obligated to cover 50% of eligible households' current allotments for November, according to a sworn statement. Hey, that's the weaning off of the system that we had talked about. The decision came after a federal judge in Rhode Island ordered the USDA last week to either start providing full November benefits to recipients or partial benefits if the agency opts to only draw on SNAP's contingency fund. I will add, the court order literally says if they choose to do it. So the court didn't actually give a hard order. It said the funds are available, and if they choose, they can pull these funds and pay it. It did, however, say if they are going to do it, they have to do it now. So here's the question. Do we think the government will open? Now, I've talked to some people in government, and they think it's going to be till Christmas that it may remain shut down. And if that actually happens, it ain't going to open after Christmas because all the Congress is going to go on vacation. So then what happens? They're not calling a session in to negotiate this. Trump is saying, end the filibuster. Democrats won't budge. There is a decent probability that the government remains shut down into the new year.
Oops.
So what happens to food stamps? Trump only has 1 month at reduced rate to pay.
I mean, it looks like that they'll be able to put a Band-Aid on it for a little while, but if the
I think they should shut it all down.
Or like
no more.
I mean,
food stamps.
I'm not pro food stamp. The federal government shouldn't have these policies anyways. If the states want to do them, that's fine. But the federal government shouldn't be in the business of having these types of policies.
People who really need it can go to their local food banks, NGOs, or churches, or stand outside of a supermarket and ask for help from those willing to provide it.
WIC. WIC is the ultimate program. It's
WIC,
not WIC, but it's more like if you really need it. Like food stamps are just if you can't
telling
afford.
people to go stand in front of a supermarket and beg is very different from a government program that takes my money with a gun to my.
You don't want solicitors in front of grocery stores. Like you don't want people begging.
It's people.
That's like dirty where you flee the city for.
I would rather. I would rather no, because what you're talking about are. Hold on. You would rather be forced by the government taking your money than just have people standing outside the supermarket asking you to please give it.
Well, when you say, I mean, I've had people beg, and when you say no, this is why you ignore them when they ask you, because if you look at them and say no, they can get aggressive, and then you're like, oh shit, I've engaged.
This is West Virginia, I don't care.
Well, we're talking about cities right now. I mean, maybe we see this stuff in West Virginia, but
if people, I love this argument that Democrats proposed, paying criminals. Have you guys remember this one? They were saying one of the policies proposed by the left was to pay criminals not to commit crimes. That if you get convicted of a crime, upon release, they would say, we'll give you $500 a month if you don't commit another crime. If you get caught for any crime, you'll lose these benefits and go to jail. And the reason why was they said it costs more money to incarcerate them. So we actually save money by offering them cash not to be criminals. And it's just like, yes, that's called perverse incentive. And that means you'll convince a lot of people to at least commit one crime so they can get on the no crime program and go back to not committing crimes and getting paid forever. And then once the no crime benefits run out, they'll commit a crime again and then get free money. I ain't playing that. And so this is where we're currently at. There are people who genuinely need food stamps. I recognize that. But and I'm for food stamps. I am. Right now, I am not for the corruption. And we've got way too many morbidly obese people getting welfare. So right now I'm saying purge the system, start it all over.
I was thinking if you did that, if it you can't buy garbage with it. You can only buy the super healthy things, let's say, how that would disrupt our economy, because I think these corporations rely on the subsidies from the food stamps to pay their bills.
I'm in favor of that. Here's what we say. Food EBT, food stamp, SNAP, whatever you want to call it, can only be used to buy fresh produce.
Yeah, that's kind of like WIC. That's why I brought up WIC.
Raw meat,
women,
fresh
infant,
produce,
and children.
nothing else.
If you look into the WIC program, it's for mothers basically with baby, women, infants, and children, and it's only for eggs, bread, cheese, milk, things like basic beans.
I think this would be fantastic, actually. And what they should propose is, right now, I think weaning off of it is good, and now we're at half the levels. Fantastic. They should say, think about what would happen to our economy if the government subsidized people's food, but only fresh vegetables and meats.
More corporations would start making.
You guys have the breakfast
right.
programs here for the kids in schools when they go to school in the morning?
Oh, yeah.
All the schools have that?
lunch.
Yeah,
for
reduced
sure.
rates or whatever.
When the kids go to school, there's food for them at the school.
At lunch.
So we have in
normal.
I can speak for Illinois. They had for lunch free and reduced. If your family was poor, your lunch was free. If your family was not that poor, you get reduced. But here's the trick.
What about breakfast? Like breakfast is the most important meal of the day for some of these kids. Right?
I can't. For Illinois, I can say I did not see any schools that did breakfast because
with the breakfast programs, which is to me that's pretty important for the kids, right?
you know what the secret was to Chicago public schools? You just say free.
Oh.
So the way it works is you would you'd pay for lunch with money, and or a ticket. You'd like if your family paid, you get your lunch ticket or whatever. You'd go through a line. Then they'd be like, they got pizza, mashed potatoes, corn, put it on your tray. Then you hand them your ticket. If you're reduced, you have a green ticket. And if you were free, you said free. So guess what everyone did?
Free.
Yep. That's it.
Oh, humanity.
I remember it was crazy being in like 6th grade and we go on the line and the other kids would just go, I'm free.
Yep.
Because their parents didn't qualify, so they just not pay and just say free anyway. But the funny thing is we actually had pseudo breakfast at my public school because I despise public school so much. Instead of doing recess, my school decided to do recess right before the day started as a technicality. Yep. So recess was like 7:30 to 8. So instead of having recess, you just show up to school at 8, and then there'd be no recess and you get out of school at 2:30, whereas recess used to be for my other schools, like you at noon, everyone goes and plays for a half hour to, get it out of their system. And, Nope.
Yep.
That's not the way that so what would happen is you could come for breakfast, recess and breakfast, and they had the Super Donut. You guys remember Super Donuts?
No.
You don't know that one? You don't remember Super Donut?
no.
Oh, man. You guys, someone restarted the company. Super Donut was a public school lunch and breakfast item that, we had when we were kids.
With like stuff in it, maybe ham or cheese. It was just a donut.
Literal donut. Just a donut in a package. And everyone loved it. And a company brought them back, and they're like, just like when you were a kid, everything you loved from grade school.
If they rebuilt WIC, or not WIC, the food stamps, like RFK's got this agenda of what he wants people to be eating. And if they could somehow say these foods particularly are going to be on the reintroduced food stamp program, you can get olive oil, you can get avocado oil and coconut oil, but you can't get any other oils. It would destroy the corn oil industry. I know. They don't want to do that.
I don't think that it would destroy the corn oil.
I don't think
industry.
so. I think big soybean oil and corn oil and cottonseed oil and all that.
The only thing that would destroy the corn oil industry would be ending corn subsidies.
But I agree. They should be giving out healthy food. If you got food stamps, I remember the debate at council. We made the companies put the calories up on the boards at the McDonald's or whatever. Right? I agree with that. Now I didn't really want to vote for it when it came before, but like Tim said, a lot of obese people out there eating stuff not well educated.
But I don't think the calories, you go to the fast food restaurant, Taco Bell, and it's like a taco and it says 190 calories. I don't think it does anything. Because one of the problems that we've seen, I think one of the most devastating, let me put it this way. There's a guy named Norman Borlaug. Have you guys ever heard of him?
I have, but I don't know who he is.
They say that he saved 1 billion lives because I believe he was researching wheat. And he figured out how, through artificial selection, to increase crop yield by 4 times or something to that effect. However, the increase in crop yield does not increase nutrition because soil nutrition remains the same. And so what ends up happening is you get an increase in starches with no increase in nutritional value. What happens then? People have to slam boxes of Kraft macaroni and cheese just to feel full. People need to eat whole boxes of cereal and they still don't feel full because you're not getting the actual nutrition your body needs. So now people are getting fatter and fatter and fatter and they're hungrier and hungrier and hungrier. Meanwhile, for me, where I'm able to buy real food and healthy food and organic food, I got to tell you, man, my wife, she made pork belly, I don't know what you call it, fried pork belly or baked it. And 4 pieces of these little things, I'm full. I'm like, oh, I could not eat anything else. Protein, high fat filling, and then what did we have alongside of it? Some vegetable. I can't remember. What did she make?
It's those saturated fats is so important, and that means that the fat is carbon. It's a strand of carbon, and when it's saturated, that means it's surrounded by hydrogens. It's saturated with hydrogens. That's super important because it holds the electrons inside the fat, and that helps your cell. If it's unsaturated and it doesn't have the hydrogens, the electrons go flying off the fat. It messes up your endocrine system. It messes up your mitochondria.
Whatever the case,
you need to get saturated, healthy saturated fat.
I could probably eat 20 pancakes for breakfast without getting full. It just, carbs do nothing for me. Nothing. You give me a little bit of sausage and I'm like, ugh, the protein that fills you up. But people are buying this garbage, empty starches.
Serge called it golden wheat. Was that like a technical golden? Oh, you're thinking the golden rice, but
it wasn't golden rice more nutritional? Yeah. So anyway, let's just say this. How about right now the compromise is we'll keep EBT going, but you can only buy produce, nothing else.
At least a start. You could reintroduce the program with
fresh
just
raw meats, no seasoning, no spices, none of that. No chocolate,
maybe salt.
No drinks. You got water coming out of the faucet, drink that.
Salt for sure. Maybe honey. You get your sweeteners.
I don't know about salt. Why salt?
Goes with everything. You need it. Salary. That's where the word salary comes from.
Nah.
It's a Roman thing. They used to pay their soldiers with salt. It's so valuable. You need it. If you're going to give them meat, you got to give them salt. Otherwise, you're going to give them salted meat, and it's too much salt.
I don't know. I'm torn on the salt thing because you need salt, so maybe. But no pepper, no crushed red pepper flakes, no saffron. No, you go to the grocery store, and EBT only gets you fresh fruit and vegetables and fresh meat. That's it. Nothing else.
Just beans and rice.
Beans and rice are a good one to sell.
That's it. No, I'm just kidding. There shouldn't be an EBT. Let states do it. The federal government shouldn't be doing it at all.
Well, the reason I say this is as a way to wean off the system, and it also subsidizes healthier foods, and it weakens the companies that produce garbage foods. So this will reorient as we wean the system down into people eating healthier foods.
Yeah, and corporations reformatting to build healthier foods, to create them and produce them. That's a good idea.
Indeed.
I'm sure that has some unseen consequences on the system, but I think that's the direction we should head.
Well, we solved that problem.
Thanks, Phil.
So,
you look good, by the way. Did I tell you that?
Pardon me?
You look good.
Well, thank you very much. I'm surprised that I look good considering how little sleep I've been.
Look like you lost a little weight.
It's possible.
Raising a newborn.
It's possible. Yeah.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. You were about to say something prolific. I got in your way.
No, I probably wasn't going to say something prolific, but
I'm going to go to the bathroom while
let's jump to this story from The Mirror. Nancy Pelosi, at the ripe young age of 85, will reportedly not seek re-election in 2026. No, but she's so young. She has so much of her future and career ahead of her at 85 relative to the rest of these people running for office. Who's that lady who's 88 and has dementia and is running for re-election?
I have no idea.
Let me pull that one up.
But as for Nancy Pelosi, I mean, we all know why. Like, she's made enough money in the stock market.
It's about power. It's about what was your the politician out in California, the lady? She was in her 90s. She was in a wheelchair. She just passed away.
Dianne Feinstein.
Dianne Feinstein.
Yeah.
Like, what is she doing there? What is she doing there at 85? We always talked about term limits when I was in office in Toronto, and
okay, so
I think if you have a 4-year term, you can run at 69 years old. As soon as you land in the 70s, you're done.
So there's
right,
Eleanor Holmes Norton, 88-year-old delegate, non-voting member from D.C. She's 88. She filed to run again in 2026. And the D.C. police report listed her as having early stages of dementia and noted she has a house manager with power of attorney.
That's a joke. Like I said, you land in your 70s, you're 69, you can run, you're 73, you're done.
I like that idea.
It's, you got all the, you're not in touch with young people, but it's all about power. Why are they there?
Well,
at what age should we stop allowing people to drive?
I think that depends. Well, it depends on the individual. They should have to go for tests, I think probably
we do. We have that in Canada. We
Oh, yeah?
go for a test after I think it's 85. You got to go and you got.
I think once you hit 80,
a driving test, you got to pass your test. So.
I think once you hit 80, you should go and you should have to be have to go back for a test
No
unless you
reason
have.
to be 85 and in office.
No, not at all.
You're not in touch with what's going on with the youth, and it's just a joke.
But as for driving, I think unless you if you have a self-driving car like a Tesla or something like that, then fine. But otherwise,
everyone's different. It's everyone's different.
Yeah, that's why you have the test.
85-year-old could be way better than driving than somebody's.
I suppose it's a question we want you to ask because we're going to have self-driving cars in a couple of years.
All made in Canada.
Are they all made in Canada?
No.
Your boys putting the
Tesla's the most.
Oh,
American,
yeah.
Tesla's the most American-made car currently right now.
I like all tariffs. I think we should tariff everything. No more imports. Just gone. Unless it can't be made here at all.
Well, hang on. Come on, Tim. So your number one trading partner is Canada. And me being in a trucking company, some of these parts that cross the border 3 or 4 times, they go back and forth. It's our premier, which is your governor, Doug Ford, he's a good friend of mine. I talked to him today. He wants to get a deal done, right? And we're pushing on a string. We put those ads across during the World Series, and President Trump got all ticked off and stopped the negotiation, which is, to me, it's ridiculous. It's like we're trying to push on a string now, right?
So I guess,
but it's we have the aluminum. Any tariff put on the United States is a tariff on the people, right? And we're better together than apart. That's for sure. And I'm not in the weeds on the tariffs, in that. But if we're screwing the United States on tariffs, let's sit down and negotiate it. For the president to say, no, I'm not going to talk to Canada, I'm not going to talk to them right now, it's ridiculous.
Well, why is it ridiculous?
Because
what do we need?
He's not the only one playing to his base. We have our governor, Doug Ford, our premier, who is playing to his base. We have our prime minister has to play to his base. We just can't roll over to President Trump.
Sure.
I support a lot of things he's doing. But Canada and U.S. together are much better than being apart.
What does the U.S. need from Canada?
Lumber.
Aluminum, our minerals.
Lumber.
Our lumber. It's crazy. And people are getting ticked off in Canada. I said, you may think it's very small, but all the border states, like in Buffalo and Kingston, Niagara Falls, all across the border, across this country, they rely on Canadians coming across. And I cross the border quite a bit, and there is nobody. There's lineups to cross. There's nobody crossing the border. I was talking to somebody in Florida at the TD Bank. I was telling Charlie before we came in here, they're selling their places in Florida. People are they're really ticked off about what's going on. And listen, it's
okay.
Canada and the United States have been friends for a very long time. And I go back to, you guys are all too young for this, the Canadian Caper. Anyone know what the Canadian Caper is?
No.
Back in Tehran in 1979, Iran was coming into your embassy, and we took 6 of your embassy workers, hid them in our embassy for 3 months, had them lose their American accents. We worked with the CIA. We came up with this crazy movie, production called Argo.
Yeah.
And we got them out, right?
Well, so we don't need Canada for aluminum. In fact, because of our trade with Canada, we've become dependent on Canada. So I'm in favor of the tariffs. Estimates are within 10 to 15 years, we can get off of our Canadian dependency for aluminum.
Okay, well, let's talk about it. Don't just turn the tap off, because right now, the tariffs are a tax on the U.S. people. Like it's who's paying for it?
So
who's paying for the tariff, Tim? Like the tariffs are on the American people. But we're stronger together. And I said, we want America to bring all these manufacturing jobs because we have, the minerals.
Why should the U.S. not develop its own aluminum industry?
Sure. If you did, we would even make Canada stronger too, because you don't have everything you need. We have it.
So what's the argument for the U.S. to say, instead of developing our own aluminum industry, we'll trade with Canada and then have to have these negotiations?
Well, you have to have the negotiations now because there's no trade. Like it's crazy. Like
and the problem is we should have never become dependent on Canadian aluminum.
Okay, but that's happened. That has happened.
And now the best thing we can do is incentivize the industrial development in the U.S., which tariffs will help do.
Listen, there's a whole bunch of different tariffs. I'm not going to get into that, but I said Canada and the United States have been are allies for a very long time. We're your best friend, your neighbor, your largest trading partner. Our Ontario alone, it was like your state. We're like, if we were our own country, we'd be your third largest trading partner behind China and Mexico. It's
so
massive. It's massive.
The issue I see is that this gives foreign countries influence in our nation. This is a really great example. So pulling up the data, the United States produces around, I think, 18% of its aluminum. And the reason is we've not developed our own industry, which would take 10 to 15 years and $20 to $30 billion to produce American.
Where do you get the raw materials for that?
The United States, we could do it. It would take 20 to 30, 15, 10 to 15
Where's the raw
years.
materials to make the aluminum? Where's that coming from?
The United States. In our own internal territories, we could set up the mines.
But where's the aluminum mines in the United States? Where are they?
Not built yet.
But where, like, what state has aluminum?
Well, okay, sure. Let's. Is Canada the only region of the North Americas that have aluminum?
Civilization when
But right now,
resource
the way,
appears.
President Trump is talking about Canada. It's ridiculous. You had the Operation Yellow Ribbon also that during 9/11 where all those planes landed in Gander, Newfoundland. We took 6,000 U.S.
Arkansas
put them in people's homes. We put them. The population of Gander is 10,000. We took 6,000 U.S. citizens and put them we're your number one friend. So you know what? Negotiate hard on the tariffs, but don't be treating Canada like we're some piece of up off the street. It's ridiculous and it's uncalled for. But right now we're pushing on a string. I'm not going to talk to Canada on the tariffs right now. That's to me it's childish. Listen, I support a lot that your president's doing, but I tell you. It's not good for either country.
No, I thought it was like, at first I was like, what's this rhetoric where he's like, we're going to invade Canada, we're going to take over Canada. It's like, dude, first of all, have respect for other humans. Don't talk down like they're some bitch. Like, yo, bro, this is our neighbor. If there is an invasion from China, you better believe Canada, the battle's going to happen in Canada.
Guys. Canada does not mine aluminum ore, bauxite. It imports every single ton from Guinea, Brazil, Australia, and China. Okay, the United States has Arkansas to mine, but still requires imports beyond that. Why are we dependent on Canada to import from Guinea, Brazil, Australia, or China? We need to crank the tariffs up 10x. This is insanity. We got a middleman with a foreign country for our aluminum when we could be going straight to Brazil. Why don't we just import from Brazil directly?
Part of it's because it's dirty. The production is dirty. You saw East Palestine when they dumped
the transportation costs.
But now it's getting sent. This is the biggest problem I've had the whole time, and why I've supported the Trump tariffs. Skateboards is a really great example, and I don't care if you don't care about skateboarding. It's an example of industry. We get lumber from the Pacific Northwest and from Canada, North American rock maple. We put it on ships and send it to China so that Chinese peasants can make skateboards and send them back to the United States so we can sell them $5 cheaper. It is the stupidest thing imaginable because companies knew that Chinese peasant labor was cheaper and they didn't want to pay American workers, so they exported all of these products in the stupidest way. It's actually more expensive to do, but the labor is dirt cheap. The idea that we're going to import bauxite, that Canada imports it, so it goes to Canada, then gets refined, then sent to us, it's stupid. So maybe if the U.S. builds its own refineries, mines in Arkansas where it can, and imports the rest directly from the miners in Guinea, Brazil, Australia, or China, we will save money in the long run.
How long is that going to take for that
10 to 15 years.
10 to 15 years. So in 10 to 15 years, and listen, we probably are too reliant on the United States, but that's 10 to 15 years out. What are you doing right now?
I'm a long-term investment kind of person.
People in the U.S. It's
Indeed
on the people, right?
Yep.
So listen,
and this will. How insane is it that Canada imports bauxite, then the U.S. imports from Canada instead of us importing directly? And so this argument that tariffs are a tax on the people is it's a meaningless statement. The issue is free trade has been detrimental to the self-sufficiency of every nation that's engaged in it, and now we are wasting a ridiculous amount of fossil fuel energy to ship all of this garbage all over the world for no reason other than creating dependencies. I'm opposed to that. I think we should have our own steel plants, our own aluminum plants. I think that we should have our own skateboard factories, and we should be built. We should have things inside the United States so we can be self-sufficient. The point of the tariffs is to say, if you want this product made by Chinese peasants or from Brazil or whatever, it's going to be more expensive than if people in the United States do it. And so if people want to buy their Temu products, by all means, face your tariff. Or what will happen in the short term is a lot of new investment into new factories in the United States. And within 10 to 15 years, we could replace Canada as the producer of aluminum for the United States. We don't need them.
It's going to take some time. It's gonna take a long
Indeed,
time.
and I don't care how long it takes. I don't see an argument for being dependent and forced into negotiations with another country, especially when you've got Canada in, what was it? Was it Ontario where they're running these commercials attacking Trump and Reagan, using Reagan? I mean, it's offensive. We don't need it.
But Tim, like our politicians are playing to their base, like your president's playing to his base. Like they just can't roll over and say, oh yeah, like Trump. It's Canada's the same as.
I tell you this:
half the people like Trump, half the people don't like Trump. But our politicians, our premier, which is our governor, Doug Ford. There's no one wants to have a deal more than him. But
so
you just can't
listen,
sit back and take it, right?
If
we shouldn't be treated that way. We shouldn't be treated that way. We shouldn't have to put those frigging commercials on the World Series.
Why did that? I mean, that's imagine you want a book deal. Or you want a record label deal, or you want to get signed by a professional sports team. So instead of going there and saying, I will be the best guy you've ever signed, I will work twice as hard for you, trust me, I want this deal and I will do whatever it takes. Imagine if instead of doing that to get signed by like an NBA team, you put up a bunch of billboards saying, F these guys, F those guys,
and
sign me or
that.
else.
We've been to Washington on many. Our prime minister was down there, the former prime minister. Our teams have been down to Washington. I know a personal friend of mine is a member of parliament. He's been to Washington. There's been many meetings that have been to Washington. I'm saying if we're screwing on the tariffs, let's sit down, let's negotiate it. But don't treat Canada like it's some piece of shit off the street, because we're not. We've had a long-standing friendship relation through many wars. Canadians didn't get drafted like you guys get drafted here. The Korean War, the Afghan War. You talk about Libya, Rwanda. We've been there for you. We've been with you guys all along. So you know what? If we're screwing you on the tariff, let's negotiate it. But don't treat Canada like some piece of shit off the street, because there's a lot of stuff. There's 3 million Canadians in Florida, right? And I have many friends here in the United States, and said it's
you know what I do. I agree with you. I would never treat someone that way in business. I would simply shake your hand and say, deals are off, all trade is canceled. Thank you for your time. Have a nice day. I wish you the best. Good luck with your aluminum factories.
Yeah, but listen, I'm not just talking about aluminum, but that's going to take.
I know,
years
peanut butter.
So listen, let's have the conversation. But just the way it's going down now, it's not right. And we want a deal, but it's like pushing on a string right now. So.
It seems bizarre that there would be even an inkling of hostility between these two countries.
Exactly.
They're the ultimate partners on earth, like more close than England and England and the United States.
We fought side by side in many wars with you guys, and I said, Gander, Newfoundland, when 9/11 went down, they put all the planes down. Gander, Newfoundland had 10,000 people. We took 6,000 Americans, and they brought them in people's homes.
I don't think
we're friends. Like we're friends, right?
And that's fine. I don't think Canada should be in a position where they want these trade deals either.
What do you think about it?
We're probably to blame too. We've probably been too reliant on the United States, and I'm the first guy to admit that. But let's sit down now and figure it out. But
what do you think about? I'd rather talk about tariffs. I just want to ask you real quick about greater unification between Canada and the United States. I don't like seeing Canada having a king, like the King of England. King, what's his name? Charles.
It's symbolic. It's
Well, technically, he can get out of Parliament.
No.
I mean, he's the king of Canada. It's fucked up that there's a king.
Oh, it's
you got a one-track mind, Ian.
They are our allies. They're like our greatest.
Well, hold on.
Symbolic thing.
King Charles gave back Canada.
Yeah, it's just
he gave it back.
Gave it back to who?
To the what is it? The Anishibig or
Anishinaabe.
Anishinaabe. And the Algonquin Anishinaabe.
That's not even.
But he gave it back.
It's just symbolic. It's not even.
But it's literal. He's the king of Canada.
No, he's not.
Yeah, literally. If you look up King of Canada,
he is
King
literally
Charles
the
king
king.
of Canada.
The question.
It's a symbolic thing. That's not even here.
I feel like Canadians are tricked into saying that, and Australians are tricked into saying that. But he could get rid of your.
No, never happening. Just like we're not going to be the 51st state. But like I said, let's sit down and talk about. Like I said,
are there articles in the Canadian government that would allow King Charles to disband its parliament?
No, I don't believe there are.
There are.
I'm not into
the question of the question. There are. That's quite literally what Charles is King of Canada. And that's a different argument.
Again, there's another country, England and Canada are great friends, right? Like all three, England, Canada, U.S., always together. Wherever we go in the world, we're the first guys behind you. And like I said, there's a lot.
I do think it's wild to be like, we do have a king, but he doesn't tell us what to do. And but you have a king.
Yeah, like he's buddies with the World Economic Forum, and like where was he during COVID? Like where is he to stop the street riots in England right now? Like you're supposed to be your best friends to the north, but if you're going to subserve to some king, Like, fuck that. No, we need allies. We need independent allies.
It's not even
keep
an issue. That's not
asserting
even a
this.
friggin' issue.
I think-
I agree with Ian. I actually think King Charles is a Davos WEF guy. That's why the UK and his mom and his family has imported the third world just endlessly, and why they lock up anyone who dares speak out, because you have a king. And that's his ideology. And I talk to people from the UK and they say, oh yeah, King Charles is totally on board with Islam and bringing these people in. And then you look at Canada and they're very much doing the same thing. And so I'm like, is it a coincidence that your king wants it and it's happening? It's crazy to be like, no, the king has no control, despite the fact we are doing exactly what he wants.
No, that's not happening. Not happening.
Well,
But anyway,
it is happening. The question is he making it happen?
Canada-U.S. relations should be, not the way it's going now. And I tell you, like I said, a lot of these border towns, Buffalo, Lewiston, Kingston, you go right across this country, this border. They rely on the Canadians that come over. Canadians are over there every weekend, the tourism dollars that Canadians pile in.
They're basically the same cities on both
coming.
sides.
Exactly, and then they rely on us. And
the same is true
look
for
at, like, Niagara Falls. They have all the outlet malls there. They're dying.
The Canadian side's better, by the way.
the same is true for the southern border.
The Canadian side of Niagara Falls is better.
There are cities that form on both sides, in the U.S. and Mexico, in the U.S. and Canada. But that's different as to the general tariffs and what the U.S. is doing with trade. I think that for too long we've outsourced all our jobs and heavily relied on the petrodollar, and we've created a fat, lazy generation, and there's no kids.
I don't disagree with
So what we need to do is, I think the U.S. shouldn't be able to rely on Chinese peasants or cheap products from Canada, Mexico, or otherwise, because we now have two phenomenon. We have a fat, lazy, entitled millennial generation and a near non-existent alpha generation. Gen Z somewhere in between. Gen Xers are doing all right. Boomers, they got their issues. But here's my prediction. My prediction is, all these people right now are arguing. Let's do this, actually. Let's do this. Let's jump to the story. We got this from the New York Post. Heritage Foundation in revolt over Tucker Carlson defense after controversial Nick Fuentes interview. Footsie with literal Nazis. Apparently, I think they're like reassigning one of these guys. They say internal chats reviewed by the Post show high-ranking members of the Heritage Foundation told each other privately how embarrassed and disgusted they were by Kevin Roberts' ridiculous decision to come to Carlson's defense over the sit-down with Fuentes, who has expressed anti-Semitic views and denied the Holocaust happened. I'm disgusted by this and don't understand how this premeditated and orchestrated response could come out of one of the biggest think tanks in the world, one wrote. Well, I'm going to tell you this. I was talking to some older guys. I'll put it this way. And this old boomer guy, I asked him if you ever heard of the phrase Zoomerwaffen.
No, I haven't heard of that one yet.
Phil,
I said it the other night.
Do you want to explain Zoomerwaffen?
Zoomerwaffen is the young people that are very close to what you would consider fascist. They believe that there should be a strong government. They're right wingers. A lot of them believe that they want to see only white Europeans allowed to migrate into the U.S. They want to deport people that are basically not what they would consider real Americans.
They're basically the growing faction of
Groypers.
Yeah, Groypers, white nationalists or otherwise. And it's a large faction of the young male Gen Z population and some female. And I think that's the direction it's going. Because a lot of the younger guys I meet are Fuentes fans.
Yeah.
A lot of the younger guys. I'm not suggesting that he's the most popular or most prominent or anything like that. But when I meet younger political guys, they like Nick Fuentes, and they're wrong about a lot of things. But the reason why is we've been lied to. We know we've been lied to. And no one is offering up a rebuttal without trying to lie more. So what happens is Nick Fuentes goes on Tucker Carlson's show, and they start screaming all of these things to try and get him banned. He pops up on Spotify. They ban him. They ban him from YouTube. Young people are sick and tired of being lied to. And if no one's offering up a real argument against Nick Fuentes, then young people are going to assume he must be correct because no one else will tell them the truth. I'm not saying Nick is telling them the truth. I'm saying if Nick says X and instead of arguing it, the media says ban him for saying it, they go, wow, it must be true.
Yeah, they call it Holocaust denial. It used to be called Holocaust revisionism because people were like, well, let's look at the data and see if they were wrong about any of the numbers. And I heard this interesting concept that the Allies, when they were finishing World War II and they were doing bombing runs in Germany, blowing up roads, blowing up train stations, they didn't know there were camps yet. They blew up the transport, and the Germans couldn't get food into the camps anymore. And so for weeks, these people started starving, and then the Allies rolled in. And that aspect of it is very touchy for some of the Allies.
It's not.
It's just normal war shit.
No. Hold on.
Fog of war.
That subject is not touchy. It's a literal fact of war. We know about the bombing of Dresden. And the issue is, why were those people in camps, Ian?
Well, yeah, that's
why were they in the camps in the first place?
Then you can talk about the German,
the
resettlements.
Argument about
like
what. So, I'm not here to talk about World War II. My point is, young people are looking at this. We were just talking a moment ago about tariffs and aluminum in Canada. So young people are going, why can't I get a job? And what do they see? Well, we shut down our processing plants for steel, and now we're importing from China for slave labor. And they're going, so I could have worked in a steel mill like my grandpa did, but instead they shut it down, and now they're importing from China, which is more expensive to do, but they don't got to pay Chinese labor. That's why I can't have a job? Yes. What about aluminum refining? We get it from Canada. Where's the aluminum come from? Guinea, Brazil. And they go, why don't we do it here? Nah. We're gonna outsource it anyway. So these young people get pissed off and they say, I can't have a family, I can't buy a house, I can't get a job. We've outsourced all these jobs. Then Trump comes and says, I'm gonna put tariffs on these countries so that this forces American industry to start rebuilding in America. And these young guys go, thank you, Donald Trump, for finally sticking up for me.
So is what the downside is that corporations will be like, I can't handle the tariffs here anymore, I'm out. It's
not gonna happen. A market is a market. So people try to come up with all these stupid arguments. If you sell a product in China, you adhere to Chinese rules. Google, for instance, was trying to create a search engine, and they said censor a bunch of stuff.
Dragon something, I think.
Yeah, well, they ultimately, I think, did roll out their censored search. Movie industry says we want to put movies in China. You got to censor certain things, and they do. If Donald Trump says we're going to have tariffs on imports, then what happens? Honda will build a factory in the United States and employ Americans to work on these cars to avoid paying the tariffs. Then American young people get those jobs, and we can start to rebuild our community, our culture, and our industry. Instead, you've got people arguing in favor of continued extraction of the American economy and culture. One of the examples I'll give with Nick Fuentes is one I've given before, where he's got a viral clip with probably tens of millions of views, where he says he doesn't want to live near black people. And he says it's not because he has a problem with individual black people. He's actually, and this is funny, a lot of people know this, he said, what did he say? Racism is low IQ or something like that?
I think so, yeah.
Something like that. And he said the issue is those communities, the crime rates. Everybody knows they don't want to live next to black people, and they're lying. Now, here's the thing. All these young white guys will look at the crime rates, they'll look at their own neighborhoods, and they'll be like, yep, tends to be a lot of young black men committing a lot of the crime. You bring it up on social media, you get banned. You advocate for it, and every liberal and every Democrat's going to give you a justification and a lie and an excuse, even though these same liberals sell their property when black families move in. So what do? They say, wow, Nick's the only one telling the truth. He must be right about everything else as well.
Nick, I think he's falling short on that argument, if that's an actual argument he made. I think it's poverty that drives crime, and that these people are descendant of
poverty doesn't drive crime. Crime drives poverty.
And the response Nick has for you is, explain Appalachia.
Yeah.
The poorest place in the country and a lower than average crime. Nice try, Ian.
Well, they're all on opiates. What do you want?
Because they're too drugged up to
and they
commit
live
crime?
super far away from each other.
No.
Actually, Ian, opiate usage is way higher in the Chicago black communities than in Appalachia.
There's low crime in Appalachia because they live up the hill. No one wants to walk up there to
No, we're talking about the cities.
What?
We're talking about cities of 30,000, 40,000 people. Crime is low.
Those are very small cities. If you're talking about Detroit or these people are
then how come in Chicago and the wider areas there's lower crime?
Because
the problem,
because of the last 150 years, people, I'll answer your question.
You are doing exactly what I'm saying.
No, in this iteration of slavery in history, it was the black people from Africa got enslaved by the white people. 1,000 years ago was 2,000 years, the Carthaginians enslaved by the Romans. They had white-skinned slaves that time. This time, it was those people. Their descendants, 100 years later, don't have the nutrition because they were slave descendants.
My exact point. My exact point was that
it's not their skin color that's doing it. I'm saying it's
and I would agree. But skin color does create the first impression. Racism does exist. And the bigger issue, I argue, is culture and community, which is why Hyde Park is safe and luxurious and black. And the LeClaire Courts is black, but also impoverished, dangerous, and gang-infested. The point is, your equivocation and your desperate attempt to try and downplay the obvious reality of young black men commit a disproportionate amount of the crime results in these 20-year-old white dudes being like, Ian's lying.
Well,
and then they're going to go watch Nick Fuentes.
If 150 years ago, a bunch of white people were enslaved and brought over here by a big black, very wealthy black oligarchy, you better believe right now it would be a bunch of dumb white people committing crime.
You're not arguing.
Because they're descendants of slaves without the nutrition and education.
To young people why in a city like Chicago, the white areas have low crime and the black areas have high crime.
I'm telling you, because of the descendants of the slaves, which happen to be mostly black, their kids didn't have education, they didn't have money, they didn't have nutrition, so they didn't have the brain matter to do creative, get out of the crime worlds. And so they're stuck. Not everybody, but a lot of people from that culture are residually stuck due to the slavery.
I think that's racist and wrong.
No, I think it's racist to claim it's their skin color and culture that's causing crime.
It's not racist to mention that culture is a reason for why there's crime.
And it's not their skin color that's causing it.
No. You could argue that certain cultures are more likely to commit crimes in other cultures. Like if you took me, who's a free speech advocate, and sent me to Saudi Arabia, you better believe I'd talk shit about the king, and that's a crime over there. I'd be a criminal. But like, what the fuck? That's my culture.
But regardless of the debate, this is my point. You have said nothing.
I said the reason that these people are committing crimes
don't just keep saying the same thing over and over again. Let me finish my point.
Okay.
To a young person who grows up in these suburbs and sees white liberals being racist and then publicly lying about why they actually don't want to live in these neighborhoods, these people are going to go follow Nick Fuentes.
They're going to what? Oh, go listen to Nick. Well, there are hypocrites for sure. There's people that...
You go into the suburbs of Chicago, you go into the white neighborhoods, and everyone will say under their breath bad things about the black areas, while publicly acting like the poor black communities are oppressed and it's not their fault they're committing crimes. Nick will then, in the suburbs of Chicago, say the exact opposite and say, it's because they commit crimes and they're criminals. And the young people go, everybody says it, but no one says it publicly except Nick. And then when Nick comes out and praises Hitler, they say he must be telling the truth because you won't have a real conversation about what's going on in Chicago. That's my problem with all the people attacking Tucker Carlson. All of these people, it's laughable because it's one issue that they're obsessed with, Israel. But of course, Nick also has his issues with Israel. But the pro-Israel people are attacking Tucker and Nick and Candace specifically over Israel while ignoring their other positions on other issues and why young people want to follow them. So maybe, and I was talking with Gavin McInnes, who I said, he's a Zionist, he's pro-Israel. And he was like, he said he loves Nick. He's like, talks to him all the time. And I said, right, Gavin, you're not the person I'm talking about. He's like, maybe I'm one of these pro-Israel people. I was like, no. The fact that you're willing to have your argument and express why you support Israel and why you're pro-Israel with someone like Nick is actually how we alleviate the pressure. The problem is young people are getting screwed over, and there's too many institutional politicians lying to them for political power, and they're sick of being lied to. The problem then is Nick is wrong about quite a bit, but he's saying loud what a lot of people are unwilling to say, and so it's convincing them that he must be right about everything else.
Yeah, he's got a genuine, even if he's wrong, sometimes he'll say, I mean, I've seen him, sometimes he'll smile when he talks, and I can tell he's pulling one over on people, but he is genuine often. And whether he's right or wrong, people are drawn to genuine beliefs because at least you can challenge it and they're not going to lie to you about it.
Well, when someone says they like Hitler, you're probably going to be like, he's probably telling me what he actually thinks, because who would ever admit to that?
And he's giving me like 1/50th of the statement there. Like, what do you mean? I want to know, what do you mean when you say something like that? What do you like about him? That he was able to rally 100 million people? Like,
I think,
cool, I guess. I'm not saying he's a good guy.
I think that what we're going to see is young people moving to the further. I don't know if far right makes sense. Far right is a term created by leftists to smear people of various disparate ideologies. A governmental a command economy with racial identitarianism is not far right, because depending on the race, they'll call it left or right. Like ADL calls black identitarianism left wing. And I'm like, what is left wing about that? It's not progressive. It's regressive. And what is their economic or cultural standpoint? It's just identitarianism. Well, race identitarianism is regressive. So I wouldn't call it far right. Woke right is a stupid made up garbage term by same thing, leftists and liberals trying to smear people on the right. But I think you're going to find I guess I would describe it as white identitarianism. Yeah. Among young people, because they're sick of being attacked for being white. and they're sick of being lied to by an establishment as to the cause of these of crime in this country. Additionally, one thing that's really going viral right now are these DOJ documents that show Black and Latino people listed as white people in the crime stats. This is what these manipulations and lies should not happen, and it's going to drive people to someone like Nick. And Hitler was not a good dude, nor was he cool in any way. He was a genocidal maniac. But they lie about so much, they're making it easy for someone like Nick to build a following.
That's a big problem. If acknowledging the crime stats and say there's a disproportionate amount of crime coming out of the Black communities is different than saying because they're Black, they're causing crime. That is not the same thing.
And Nick didn't say that. He said it's not to blame individual Black people. However, the issue is liberals won't admit it. But look at the property values in their cities, and the property values drop the less white an area becomes. And these are liberals in cities that vote Democrat. Everybody knows they're lying about what they actually think. That's the issue. And now you can talk about all of the reasons why there's crime or whatever your argument might be, but people are sick of being lied to.
I like talking about race realism. I don't know if that's the right term. People are like, oh, you said the words. But like, I love talking about the differences in genetics because then you can actually have normal conversations, not freak people out and make them run towards the
You're
next
not allowed to point
extremist.
out that Black people are predisposed to sickle cell anemia.
Like I don't know if all the time they're taller. How many people in the NBA are Black versus white? 85%, 90%. I don't know what the taller, larger bodies, more muscular genetically, maybe because they had to hunt by foot longer 10,000 years ago. I don't know, but it's interesting. And
the
there are
important thing to
differences.
understand is that the question of skin color is the problem. Because when we talk about race, people often whittle it down to skin color, but then you end up with someone calling Elad, what do they call him, Indian?
Yeah.
Sean called him that, right? He thought Elad was Indian. And I'll say this, Somalis are short and Haitians are tall.
Yeah.
Like, just because they have dark skin doesn't make them the same thing. That's the problem with racism, is that people will say white people, Black people, Hispanics or whatever, and you're like, man, you could have a problem with Irish people, but like the French. You could love Haitians and not like Sudanese or whatever. You know what I mean? Like Myron Gaines talks a bit about this because he's literally Black, but in the United States they say he's not Black because he's Sudanese in America. So despite the fact that he's literally African, they're like, that's not what it means to be Black. So that's the problem with like racism and whatever you want to call it.
Man, I saw the Tibetan fox. Have you ever seen the Tibetan fox? You should pull up a picture. He looks like an Asian guy. Like, he has the eyes, the cut eyes. I'm like, okay, they evolved this over time because the heavy winds.
Bro.
I think it's the heavy winds of
Don't be
Asia.
so racist.
Look at him. Doesn't he look like an Asian dude? The Tibetan fox. So he cuts his eyes against the wind. I think that's where the evolution of the differences in hominids comes from, is the terrain. Like, high beating sun in the equatorial Africa, your skin gets darker every day and darker and darker and darker. And then your kids are just born with the darker skin. And the Asian people, and then look at his eyes. He's definitely cutting the wind. The Tibetan fox. He's definitely Tibetan.
No, he's just dubious of what you're talking about. He's not buying it.
Is that why?
Like, I'm not believing this.
Look at the
BS.
wisdom in his eyes. He's Asian. He must be wise. No, I'm just kidding. I just love talking about the differences, man, because there's value in it. If you can kind of
the reason Asians it's called the epicanthic fold. It's about protection from cold wind, dust, and UV light in harsh ancestral environments. You are probably correct as to why the fox also has the
dubious look.
the apparent eye look.
Yeah, and people with like webbed feet that can swim in the Southeast Pacific. You know, those Pacific Islanders, what they can hold their breath for like 8 minutes underwater. I love it. I love it.
This is actually kind of funny. Ian, you're a genius. I asked Grok, is that why the Tibetan fox has the same eyes? And he goes, yes, exactly. The Tibetan sand fox lives in the same freezing wind-blasted Tibetan plateau as the people who evolved the epicanthic fold, narrow almond-shaped eyes, an identical adaptation.
What's the name of the area where they were?
The Tibetan plateau.
Yeah, the Tibetan plateau, man.
Look at that.
That's why the
and that's why look at that, less snow blindness, and let's see, narrow, elongated, permanently half squinted because of high winds and UV from the snow.
Now that will help in Mars.
That's why it goes all the way. Like, it goes all the way into, like, people that are from Hungary have a bit of that in their
Getting
eyes.
back to crime, I want to talk about the crime and and what we're doing in Toronto too is it's how these cities have been planned too. You got segregation. You pick any U.S. city, kind of cross the tracks. How we plan
By choice, though.
Sorry.
Like Chicago segregation was by choice.
Well, I know, but now we're planning new cities. You look at the growth that's happening in Toronto. We're now putting in mixed use neighborhoods, right? So everything, it's mixed use. So you have to mix it in. You just can't have that race over here, that race over there, you got to mix it in. And my kids, I have 5 kids, and I picked them up from school. Kids would come to my, after school, come to my home, and I couldn't pronounce half their names. But my kids didn't see that races. That's Rafi, and this is Jahaf, and my kids didn't even see that. Toronto's the most multicultural city in the world, and they don't see that. So how these cities are planned also as we move forward is how it's,
So I challenge you on that notion. I think that's a marketing thing that Toronto came up with, because what does it actually mean to be the most multicultural?
Well, we have, like you said, you want to come to Toronto. I'm just saying that every race is there. Right? It's like every food.
I think New York is more diverse. Ethnically,
we're probably the same. I'm not going to split hairs, Tim, on this, but like I said, you want to come and have Somalian food, you want to have Ethiopian food, you want Chinese food, you want Thai food. It's there, right? And people come, they immigrate to Canada, and we try to spread them out through the country. So let's send these people to Winnipeg. Let's send these people to Nova Scotia, but they all want to come to Toronto because all the communities are here. We have China.
We're going to go to your chats and rants right now, so smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know. Rumble uncensored portion of the show, I got one for you. You're really going to enjoy it, and I recommend you come for it, but it's going to be too naughty for YouTube. Did
you say come for it?
Indeed. So make sure you go to rumble.com/Timcast IRL to watch the uncensored portion of the show. And we're going to talk about, as Ian called it, race realism.
Oh, thank you, dude.
But we got a great sponsor for all of you. It is Tax Network USA, my friends. Head over to tnusa.com/Tim. Do you owe back taxes? Are your tax returns still unfiled? Did you forget to file for an extension? Time is running out. If you haven't gathered all your documents, or made any estimated payments, you could soon be targeted by the IRS. They can garnish your wages, freeze your bank accounts, or even seize your property. But there's help available. Tax Network USA, a nationwide tax firm, has helped taxpayers save over $1 billion in tax debt. They've filed hundreds of thousands of tax returns and assisted thousands in reducing their tax burdens, and they can help you too. Don't wait. Visit tnusa.com/Tim or call 1-800-958-1000 for a 100% free consultation. In one short call, the experts at Tax Network USA will guide you through some simple questions to determine how much you can save. Take action now before it's too late. Visit tnusa.com/Tim or call 1-800-958-1000. But for now, let's grab those Rumble rants and Super Chats. We got Zombie Dude who says, I got married Sunday. Next time, I hope to be announcing a baby. Stay tuned. Congratulations.
Work, dude.
Shane H. Wilder says, everybody is happy to have Phil back. The commies were driving slow in the left lane in his absence. Congratulations again, brother.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
It was getting bad, Phil. It was getting bad.
Someone needs to police those communists in the left lane.
You should have heard me talk about communism last week. People are like, where's Phil?
Yeah, he was defending it.
Full blown.
Why are you defending it?
What do you say? I'm steel manning the opposition, that's all.
Sure. All right. Jay Birdhorn says, welcome back, Phil. Congratulations on the baby. Just had my second grandson this past week.
Congratulations, and thank you very much.
Absolutely. Money Shot says, Tim, Illinois passed at least 13 new taxes statewide to pay for stuff in Chicago. That means Southern Illinois will be paying for public things in Chicago. Get out while you can. Here in West Virginia, we have bad taxes, but it's because it used to be a Democrat state, and now it's turned into a Republican state only recently. And I have had my conversations with the politicians, and they are trying to fix the tax problems in West Virginia. One of the great things is that the former governor wanted to eliminate the income tax of West Virginia, which would smartest thing they could do. Eliminate personal income tax in West Virginia, and this state will generate an insane amount of money. You are going to instantly get every single wealthy person in the D.C. area, Maryland and Virginia. They will move into West Virginia and start developing like crazy. The tax revenue will be off the charts, and the development would be amazing. So a lot of people in West Virginia don't want it. I say protect the heritage areas, keep the small towns small, but develop where development can go, and eliminating the income tax is a great idea. But guess what? It's the Democrats in the state that don't want to do it. Yup.
Shocker.
Indeed. All right, Raffalo says, Tim, given your policy for running for public office, you sure you're not related to Yakov Smirnov?
What the country? You know that guy? The comedian?
Yeah, of course, but what? He's like the policy of eliminating everything and just... Like I said, if I were to actually run for office, I would just say all of these really horrible things that would guarantee I never get elected. Social Security, gotta go. Don't care. What's that? But you paid into it, so you deserve it? Nope, gone. Bye. Don't care.
I've made similar commitments.
Oh yeah, this is why I'm actually maybe at some point I should run for the presidency just so that I can say all of these things and people will be like, I will never vote for that man. Run as a Republican and say, I'll say things like church is good and you definitely need to go. And we need a culture that prioritizes local community. If not church, something, but church is good, where people can come together and their community bonds together. And welfare is bad and shouldn't exist at all. And government subsidies shouldn't exist at all.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, what the government should do is be like a referee, but not be punitive taxes, gone. Tax on gasoline, gone. If you got a problem with your roads, your local community can figure out if you want roads or not. None of the federal government's business. Wars, gone.
Sound like Javier Milei. Afuera.
Afuera! I mean, he's amazing.
But some welfare is good. Don't you think some welfare is good?
No.
Yes, but it should be done locally. And so local communities should figure out, I'm not opposed to, I like the idea that government can help incentivize development in certain areas through government itself. I'm not opposed to all. I think some taxes are okay, but they should be dramatically reduced. I like the idea of, is there something that people agree the federal government should do? Yes? Okay. Then we should set that agency up, not in D.C., but in an area that could utilize the development, and then we help grow an industry and we make new cities and things like this. And then every law should have a sunset clause. Every policy a sunset. Every executive order will sunset. If I was president and I issued an executive order, I would write, this executive order will sunset in 6 years and no longer be enforceable. Someone else can come in and add more to it after the fact. Anyway, enough of my hypothetical attacking of government. Well, actual attacking of government with hypothetical presidential run. All right. Old Roy says, I like when Ian brings his perspective to the show. Don't always agree, but I find it makes for great animated discussions.
Thank you, Old Roy.
The clip from the show about, I think it's titled like Tim schools Ian on communism. It's got like 200,000 something views.
A little bias there, Tim.
I didn't make it. Talk to Kellen
Class
about
was in
it.
session, that's for sure.
Well, nobody likes communism, so when you defend it or steel man it, people
have to steel man it. That's the only way we
tear
can
down.
defeat it. Yeah, you have to understand it.
You don't have to.
I must. I have to Stalin.
All right, let's go. We got Thinker for a Life. He says, I see the NY race like this. A child asks their parents for a gun, but the parents keep saying, no, you'll shoot your eye out. Let the Dems shoot their eye out. They'll learn hard and turn to common sense. Nope. We see that
won't.
in the Pacific Northwest. People just flee and they entrench their power. And Chicago, the same thing.
Yeah, they don't learn. There's no learning.
They actually celebrate.
Yeah. And then when things don't work, they just say, well, we didn't do it hard enough. We didn't have enough socialism. We didn't do, yeah.
They say the corporation, like Venezuela, when you ask these socialists why Venezuela's failing, they say because the capitalists are interfering.
Yeah, I mean, that's 100% true. You listen, get into arguments on the internet with any communists, and they just say, "Well, the CIA did it. The CIA is the reason that the Soviet Union didn't succeed. And if it isn't the CIA, then it was because Stalin wasn't actually a communist. He was right wing, and it was an authoritarian system. So it was the CIA, and then if it wasn't the CIA, then it was Stalin wasn't good enough."
Enki says, 9 months ago, I told you I found out my girlfriend was pregnant. Tomorrow is her C-section. Please pray for us. And thanks, Timcast and Discord, for everything.
All right, man.
Right on.
I was about to get my mom when my mother was pregnant with me. I was in there for like 18 hours and she was struggling. And they were like, all right, we're going to cut him out. And immediately turned around and then slid out. When she heard that, it was like a signal to my body, get out of there.
We got a good one. D-Sage says, I'm okay with invading Canada after this pathetic attempt to save the Canadian economy.
No,
I got more death threats. Okay, so to be fair, after Charlie Kirk, I got the most. But up until that point, when I jokingly tweeted that we will invade Canada and be greeted as liberators, my wife was like, what did you do? Because like our email was just lit up with death threats. And I was like, what are they saying? They're like, They're saying Canada will destroy you, and like you like they were saying.
Guys, you know what? It's just it's. Long. I was at the Charlie Kirk Memorial. I went out there. I felt I had to be there. I got invited to go out, and I was out there. Like I said, there's so many things these two countries together, like that come together on sport, hockey. You know,
We import a lot of your comedians.
Yes.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Comedy, the humor. The Canadian
Absolutely.
humor is
musicians.
killer.
But I mean, you know,
Is Ryan Reynolds Canadian?
time to sit
Ryan-
down and figure this out. Like I said, we are
He was.
pals. And
Is?
we're going to be pals for a very long time. But this, the way it's going now,
It felt like
it's not right.
it was a joke from Trump. He thought of it as sort of an innocent joke, get the ball rolling. But it's like if someone's like, you might not have a job tomorrow. Like for the boss, it's haha, it's very funny. But for the person that is terrified they might actually lose their job, it's a big deal. It's not funny.
No, and we're buying billions off you guys. We're buying like close to 400 billion every year back and forth. The trade's almost equal. Like, we have the LCBO, the Liquor Control Board of Ontario, where you have to go to a store to buy, liquor, vodka, bourbon, whatever. The Liquor Control Board of Ontario, the LCBO, is the largest buyer of alcohol in the world. Our premier's taken all the U.S. booze off the shelf. You don't think that's hurting the people? Like, you can't get bourbon now in Canada. Like, you don't think it's hurting all the people in California, all the California wine that comes into the country, all the bourbon that comes out of Kentucky into our country? It's senseless. We have to sit down, close the door, and negotiate this thing out. Like I said, we're, like I said, Canada and United, we had long-standing relations. Agree with Tim. Let's get on our own feet. You guys do what you got to do, but that's years away, right? That's years away before that's going to happen. But I said there's a tremendous amount of trade that goes back and forth that is beneficial to the United States and to Canada, right? But the way, it's being portrayed up there, there's some long-standing ramifications. It's going to happen, like you said. People are coming out of Florida, not going. You don't think it's 3 million Canadians? DeSantis come out and said, "Oh, that's insignificant, 3 million Canadians." Like, that's just ludicrous. Why do you even have to say
All
that, right?
We got David Bricken. He says, Phil, from all of us watching tonight, welcome back and a very merry metal fatherhood.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the love.
What was the first song you played for your son? I saw you.
Hammer Smashed Face by Cannibal Corpse. And I'm not kidding around.
Are you guys still ticked off that we beat you in the Four Nations face-off? Is that what you guys are still?
I didn't follow it. What happened?
During the All-Star break, when Canada-US, we beat you in overtime?
I haven't watched sports in like 6 years. No, I'm not. I love Canada, man. I love Canada. I want to unify and make one great country.
No.
But the problem is
But
central.
You know what? Canada looks like, a lot of people look like there is no border, right?
Yeah, that's
and that's me. I look like there is no border. I have a ton of friends across the world,
I strongly disagree.
right? We don't
I've
feel
been
there's a border.
I've been to Canada a bunch of times, and there's definitely a border.
Yeah, I never could tell.
Why do you say that?
Well, the first time I tried to go to Canada, we had to get strip searched. So this is back in like 1996. And they made us empty out our trailer and everything because they were afraid that we might have had marijuana, which we had no marijuana at all.
Well, we were the first ones to legalize marijuana.
Yeah, which is why I was like, why is this
that's
such
a
problem?
one-off thing.
So,
like I said, but I would love to be no border. I mean, but we don't look like there's a border, right? I have tons of friends that come to Toronto. We're here all the time. I love it here.
It's just about maintaining decentralized autonomy because I wouldn't want like the American government to govern Canada. But if we could all have our states,
yeah, it's never going to happen.
Like United
Like I said,
States,
it's like, let's sit down and figure things out and get back to where we are. Like I said, Canada and U.S. are better together. And I'll stand here and defend that to the end. But like I said, we probably relied way too much on the U.S., and I think we've realized that. But again, there's a tremendous amount of trade that we buy off the U.S. that come in. Like it's I think it's $360 billion a year that goes back and forth between the two countries. It's we're your largest trading partner. It's ludicrous.
Did you say your buddy is buddies with the PM or the?
So my good friend Doug Ford is our premier, which is like a governor to you.
Are you friends with Doug Ford? That rules.
Do you guys talk about this?
I just talked to him. I talked to him this morning. I talked to him the other day. But
Are you guys like, how are we going to fix the? Like, how do we get?
He
these?
wants to have a deal, but it's like pushing.
Let's read some more
right now. He wants to have a deal. He wants to do a deal. He's got.
Ian Slater says, respectfully, we don't need Canada for anything. We have to make things here. Canada is subject to CCP. What are we still dealing with? Why are we still dealing with backstabbers? Americans can avoid tariff tax by buying American.
You need our hockey players. You need our hockey players for sure.
It's so much beautiful land too, and you think of it as geopolitical strategy. You don't want to make even remote. You don't even want your neighbor to the north to be neutral. You want them to be your ally.
Absolutely. We got the board up across the Arctic. We, together we're a Can-Am fortress. I mean, it's there's so many similarities and friendships in both these countries, right? I talk to people in the U.S. every day.
Yeah, but if you say you want a border, that means we have no border.
I'm saying the border that comes across, well, that's what the president wants to be the 51st state, which is never going to happen. But I'm just saying, I don't look like there's a border, right? But
Okay.
we need one.
How many?
All right. Shadav says, to be honest, Tim, if the long game is to give a casus belli for invading Canada, you should support the tariffs. If you tariff us, our treasonous PM will make massive security threats by bringing the Chinese in. Love to Timcast from BC. I saw in, in British Columbia, they gave the land back to the Native Americans. You see that? In Richmond, I think it was.
No.
There's a large swath of land, and a court ruled that because it was a fishing village 300 years ago, all of these homes are now subject to the jurisdiction
of something on that. Yeah,
of the Choctaw or something like that, Native Americans. So as far, look, when I see stuff like that, I'm like, I got to be honest. If that continues, and King Charles came in and said that Canada was the what did he say? The unceded land of the Anishinaabe Algonquin. So it's like, okay, sounds like Canada doesn't want it anymore.
No,
and we can just come in and take it.
Never gonna happen.
Yeah.
Well, hold on.
Gonna happen.
They did give the land back to the Native Americans already in British Columbia. So you say never, but it's happening already.
Anytime a person in a position of authority in a government, whether or not the king is, I think it's probably still up for debate. But anytime they say anything like that,
the king's not for debate. He's irrelevant.
It's a bad idea for anyone to make those kind of remarks. These land acknowledgments and stuff. It's a terrible idea to even play at the idea that it's unceded land, because then you're calling into question the sovereignty of the government, and you're calling into question whether or not the government's legitimate. It's a terrible idea.
Yep.
Let's grab one last point before we go to the uncensored portion of the show. The Canadian royalty, King Charles III, as the head of state, represented day to day by the Governor General. Almost always acts on the advice of the elected prime minister. The last outright refusal of prime ministerial advice was 1926, the King Byng affair. The last time a viceroy withheld royal assent was 1961. And the recent interventions, prorogation, suspending parliament, January 6, 2025.
Parliament was suspended in Canada on the
prorogation in January by royal
from the governor. It's just symbolic. Yeah. The king is symbolic. Get off the king, guys. The king has nothing.
King Charles personally delivered the speech from the throne in Ottawa.
They invited him.
First monarch to do since 87.
Guys, it's symbolic. He's the king has no like.
The last direct royal intervention was 1926.
Yes.
The last royal intervention was 1926.
And check Australia. It was like 1970. They had a coup and they got rid of a governor general because he wouldn't play ball with the royal.
So in 2025, January 6, the prime minister agreed with the king. So they're arguing that it was not royal intervention as long as the governor general agreed with it.
That was Trudeau.
What as far as
Governor General Mary Simon prorogued the 44th Parliament.
Or Prime Minister Trudeau.
So the king will appoint the governor general at the pleasure of the king is how they do it, and then the governor general can disband parliament. Basically, he's like the attack dog for the king. The king doesn't. He's like, I don't have anything to do with it.
I think when the king says we should do this, and they go, yes, we agree with you, so it's not an order of the king. We've done it. It's like arbitrary. Anyway, we're going to do the uncensored portion of the show, and it's going to get pretty spicy. You guys are going to maybe not really enjoy it. I don't know. But we're going to talk to you about science. So head over to rumble.com/Timcast IRL for that section of the show. You can join the Timcast Discord server by going to timcast.com and clicking Join Us and get involved because community is our strength. Together, tens of thousands of you help support this show and the work that we do, and you can call in as well as get access to the Friday afternoon backstage pass as we've been experimenting with earlier recordings, and you get to watch on a wide-angle camera the entire studio as we are setting up the show. A lot of good fun. Timcast.com. You can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Mark, do you want to shout anything out?
No, I'm good, my friend. I'm just very happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me down, and hopefully some good discussion here today. But again, there's nothing more than I want to see, and the country, Canada, the U.S. and Canada, get their relations back together the way it should be. And I just appreciate you having me on today, Tim.
Right on. Thanks for coming.
Man. It's Mark_Grimes on X. People will follow you there.
There you
Thanks
go.
for coming, man. And
Thank
I'm
you.
at Ian Crossland. You guys, if you haven't been to the pre-show on Discord, the Timcast Discord, we are doing pre-shows every day at 6:30 Eastern before we start to prep for this show. And there's a different Timcast member come in and hang out with the crowd. So get into the Timcast Discord and prep for your 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time shows in the Discord Timcast channel. I'm at Ian Crossland. You find me on the internet at Ian Crossland. Let me know what you think. See you later.
I am Phil That Remains on Twix. You can check out the song that I did with the band Zillion. It's called Cannibals. It's available on Spotify. You can check out my band, All That Remains, on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Pandora, and Deezer. Don't forget, The Left Lane is for crime.
We will see you all over at rumble.com/TimcastIRL in about 30 seconds. Thanks for hanging out.